Look around and you were crossing the street. Took a breath and I walked up to you. Asked the darling, when can we meet? 'Cause now it's not too late. I want to sit away. Alone by myself, I'm not just gonna stay away. I wanna just decide what is to be my fate. Alone by myself, I'm not just gonna stay away. But now it's not too late. I want to sit away. Alone all by myself, I'm not just gonna stay anyway. I wanna just decide what is to be my fate. Alone all by myself, I'm not just gonna stay here and wait.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our Chille DeCastro 2024 special number 1. We had the 2023 special number 1 earlier, and this is all the Chille DeCastro stories from, I believe, May of this year till yesterday. So got a lot of stories, got a lot of things going on, and we've got a lot of Chille DeCastro. But one thing I've been working on today, I'm about to share, is a slight site redesign for our newspaper. If you can see that, I'll make this full screen. We are now changing the way we do icon, or actually thumbnails. Thumbnails would go from, will be shared from the actual news articles themselves over to the video, the corresponding videos for each one. We're just making it look a little bit nicer. It works better with a 2-level headline like this one, but we're working out the kinks and we should have this up and running tomorrow. So you'll be seeing these new thumbnails during our generation of the videos every day. We're also doing, we're planning on experimenting with shorts. I wouldn't get your hopes up for shorts being something you're going to really want to see. They're mainly advertisements, and I'm going to be quite obnoxious in them, but that gets views to the channel. So I apologize in advance. It'll be more the crazy Jim than the normal Jim you're used to, but hey, that might be a good thing. Anyway, thank you for being here tonight. It's going to be a long one. It's about 2.5 hours of material. So I'll be hanging out in the background, doing some redesign stuff. And yeah, I can be obnoxious. Just you wait. Anyway, the donations are active. If you see the pinned message up top, anything would be helpful. And yes, we are now a WFYC affiliate on YouTube. That's right, WFYC is taking the world by storm, and we've got a logo for it. Please look out for more information. I bet you on the poop scoop shoot thing tomorrow night if they hold it. Anyway, let's dive into our first one. Again, it's about 2 hours worth of stuff. So I'll be here. Thank you for being here, and thank you for sharing your 4th of July with us. Oops, remove. And if I ever click the right one. We're here with our first of two Jose DeCastro related stories for the night, as DeCastro May 15th address is Take Two. It was deja vu all over again for viewers of Jose Chille DeCastro on Friday, as his newly released address from jail was simply his Thursday address repeated, but this time with the missing 7 minutes from the previous day's broadcast. In those 7 minutes, the YouTuber continued his plans for bettering those within the jail system, touching briefly on his planned felony removal program. Under his envisioned program, incarcerated individuals would work to better themselves by taking part in his teachings and would eventually qualify for felonies to be cleared from their criminal histories. A controversial part of the program, however, comes into Castro's demand that all participants in his felony removal program also have all tattoos removed from their bodies. DeCastro, who has never shown a previous disdain for tattooing, announced that tattoos were just another record for the government to track those who have been incarcerated and to tie the tattoos to crimes. After pitching his idea for a possible multi-million-dollar industry based on his teachings and making a plea to his followers to continue to send him gift baskets as he loved their contents, DeCastro turned on the makers of the gift baskets as unethical price gougers who coincidentally make his life easier with every overpriced basket he received. DeCastro went on to express a mix of disgust and desire over the profit made by companies that support the prison industries, apparently in the hopes of establishing his betterment program boxes as a path to profit in the future. We end tonight with more news on Jose Chille DeCastro. Blue Bacon wins over DeCastro again. YouTuber Michael Blue Bacon Paratini's attorney, Paul Katrinik, was awarded another round of monetary sanctions on Thursday as Judge H.J. Ford III ordered Jose Chille DeCastro to pay him the sum of $4,500 by July 15, 2024. The second round of sanctions, following an earlier award of nearly $1,600 in sanctions, stemmed from a request by Katrinik to charge DeCastro for time spent filing unnecessary responses to knowingly improperly filed paperwork by DeCastro as part of DeCastro's ongoing attempt to delay a verdict in his California-based civil lawsuit against Kate Peter, Daniel Clement, David Team Skeptic Omo, and Paratini. DeCastro was not present at Thursday's hearing, which saw Judge Ford also deny DeCastro's demurrer to Paratini's previous amended answer to DeCastro's lawsuit. The judge found that DeCastro violated the court's filing rules by missing key deadlines, and that the demurrer can only be sustained if the amended answer did not contain facts that constitute a defense. Ford stated that this was not the case with Paratini's filing, and thus DeCastro's demurrer had no merit. Judge Ford also ruled against a request for sanctions by Katrinik for $10,410 against DeCastro for frivolously filing the demurrer and for violating the court's filing guidelines. The judge ruled that while DeCastro did violate the filing guidelines, it was inadvertent and was already punished by the denial of the demurrer based on Katrinik's previous arguments. In perhaps a telling sign for DeCastro, a new filing in his upcoming criminal trial in Las Vegas for making a false statement to a police officer, the infamous yellow tape crossing case from DeCastro's related GoFundMe, saw attorney Josh Tomshek named as defense for the jailed YouTuber. Josh Tomshek is a partner in the Las Vegas trial firm of Holland and Tomshek and heads both the criminal trial and personal injury practice groups for the firm. He is expected to be on hand for DeCastro's next scheduled pretrial hearing in the case on June 24th, 2024. Evidence in DeCastro appeal shows George Floyd connection. A newly released document from Jose Chille DeCastro's appeal of his recent Las Vegas conviction for interference in a traffic stop and obstructing an officer showed more evidence that DeCastro indeed will compare his plight to that of George Floyd in his appeal. The motion by DeCastro's lawyer, Christopher R. Oram, seeks to introduce photos of the George Floyd crime scene in comparison to captures taken by DeCastro's video of his arrest by Brandon Bork in March 2023 in Las Vegas. Oram's filing had previously mentioned the similarity of the George Floyd case, as bystanders were not allowed to film in close proximity of the officers who were detaining and later found to have killed Floyd back in 2020. The key difference admitted by Oram is that the officer involved in DeCastro's arrest made it clear that he was not obstructing DeCastro's right to film, but simply asking DeCastro to step a safe distance away from the traffic stop so Bork could work safely in proximity of the stop driver. It is currently unclear why Oram has invested so much time in introducing the evidence of the Minnesota incident involving Floyd, as it has no legal bearing on the Nevada arrest of DeCastro. While inflammatory, it introduces nothing of legal value to the argument that Officer Bork acted inappropriately under Nevada law, resulting in the arrest of DeCastro. The next hearing in DeCastro's appeal is set for May 23, 2024, and centers around a petition by DeCastro to have his appeals brief extended from the court's limit of 10 pages to 29 pages. If you would like to help contribute to the purchasing of documents on behalf of our news stories, please see how to contribute in the scroll below. The cost of the document featured in this news story alone exceeded $12, and all contributions would be greatly appreciated. DeCastro attacks Darcy in latest address. There were no real surprises in Jose Chille DeCastro's latest address on Saturday as he compared his current incarceration with anti-slavery legislation. He then called on his followers to continue to petition the judges involved in his conviction and apparently took a shot at Patrick J. Darcy in the process. Attorney and YouTuber Patrick J. Darcy has been both helpful to and critical of DeCastro's most recent filings. DeCastro's video on the deficiencies in the prosecution of DeCastro's case that resulted in his most recent conviction, for example, was apparently used as a template for DeCastro's appeal document. However, DeCastro has taken issue with Darcy's criticism of his attempts to petition the court and warned that DeCastro could be held liable for the actions of his followers who have allegedly threatened Justice of the Peace Ann Zimmerman for her sentencing of DeCastro to 180 days in jail. After repeating his history of the attempts to ban anti-slavery petitioning in America, DeCastro briefly touched on Japanese internment camps during World War II before reminding his fans that he continues to need them to petition both Justice of the Peace Zimmerman and Judge Michelle Levitt, who is handling the appeal in the case. While not naming Darcy directly, DeCastro went on a rant against men in suit and ties who would discourage petitioning in the case as they have no regard for the law or his freedom and are only after YouTube clicks and views. He continued his attack while claiming that those men have no purpose, while he is guided by the sole purpose of overturning the Supreme Court's Terry versus Ohio decision, which he sees as the cause of destruction of the rights of all Americans as it turns over too much power to the government. DeCastro then claimed that he was only in the Clark County Detention Dungeon because he was arrested for filming a police officer and that people are being misled about their rights to petition on his behalf. The YouTuber urged his fans to ignore negativity as he ended his statement, again urging his fans to petition both Justice of the Peace Zimmerman for his release and Justice Levitt to allow the extension of his appeals brief from the court's rules of 10 pages to an expanded size of 29 pages. A hearing on the extension is scheduled for later this week. Darcy responds to DeCastro threat. Attorney Patrick J. Darcy responded to recent threats by Jose Chille DeCastro on Tuesday in a new video reminding DeCastro that he had been a neutral party, but serves as a defamation attorney by trade and would not hesitate to defend himself legally from DeCastro's slanderous remarks. Darcy was responding to DeCastro's most recently released statement from jail over the weekend, in which he did not name Darcy directly, but did allude to the attorney as being more concerned with clicks and views than the interest of those he represented. DeCastro went on to claim that men in suits Michelle Levitt for his freedom, as they had no regard for the law or that freedom. Darcy addressed DeCastro's examples of successful petitioning of things like the ban of anti-slavery legislation in the 19th century and against laws establishing internment camps for Japanese Americans in World War II as different types of petitioning than DeCastro's calls to petition judges for his freedom. The attorney pointed out that judges are meant to be unbiased and that sentencing is not a popularity contest. Petitioning judges would put their unbiased nature into question, and Darcy warned that while DeCastro was petitioning to have his jail sentence revoked or shortened, it could also be used by those who wanted DeCastro's sentence increased. Reiterating that he had been a neutral party in DeCastro's ongoing disputes and that his videos criticizing DeCastro's legal briefs were intended to help others in similar circumstances to those of DeCastro, Darcy warned that he was indeed a defamation specialist, and DeCastro would need several new lawyers to defend against a possible lawsuit should DeCastro continue to disparage him. This is a developing story. DeCastro has not replied to Darcy's video as of press time. DeCastro gets rare GoFundMe tracking win. While Jose Chille DeCastro was called out on all fronts on Tuesday, a single bright spot emerged in his life as his legal aid fund, donation fund, Help People Fund, received donations for first time in nearly a week. The fund received a $60 donation early in the day, followed by a mid-afternoon donation of $50, bringing Tuesday's tally for the fund to $110, which far outshined any of the other major funds that we track to take the crown for the day. In second place came Sean Paul Long Island Audit Riaz with a $20 donation to his unlawful arrest and constitutional rights campaign. This particular campaign had a 24-day drought in donations, and it is unclear why someone picked to donate to this campaign rather than his other more popular crowdfunding campaigns, as there were no discernible links or promotions from Long Island Audit's YouTube channel. Turning back to DeCastro's victory for the day, it was indeed a huge win for DeCastro's fundraising campaigns to be noticed, as again no links were shared, and DeCastro received a huge amount of negative press on Tuesday. Starting off the day, Brian Here's the Deal Young's controversial interview with Paul Unslave saw Young come close to fully denouncing DeCastro as the pair insulted and degraded him in the 10-minute produced video released to Young's main channel. Patrick J. Darcy joined in the drubbing of DeCastro with a response to DeCastro's threats from Monday. DeCastro held nothing back in addressing Darcy held nothing back in addressing DeCastro's spiteful comments and self-sabotaging efforts. Lastly, DeCastro's alternate livestream host, Michael Eline, came under fire from Merb again, this time by refusing to acknowledge Merb's proposals for a legal showdown using a neutral judge. DeCastro's only positive news for the day came in his crowdfunding win and in the report from PDocs that his release date had been updated and he will now be released on August 3rd, 2024. No reason was given for this change. All of the negative interactions have corresponded news stories here on Really Cool News and on ReallyCoolSite.org. As always, we do have a GoFundMe featured in the scroll below. All proceeds go to keeping the lights on, eating, and writing news stories to feature here and on ReallyCoolSite.org. In a brief update to this one, we may have had an impact, as late in the afternoon today, DeCastro's associates released an update to his community page featuring links to 2 of his 3 GoFundMes and Press with Ranker's GoFundMe. So far, the take from the 3 has totaled about $20 to a single donation. We will continue to monitor this situation and bring you updates in our report tomorrow. DeCastro muses on eve of court appearance. The latest address by Jose Chille DeCastro to his fans on the eve of his Thursday appeals court hearing offered a mix of bitterness and anger as DeCastro declared himself a martyr for the First Amendment and freedom of the press. DeCastro's latest rebranding as a self-proclaimed martyr comes as DeCastro's demand for mainstream media attention has gone all but unnoticed. Thursday's media coverage will be provided by our Nevada judges, as no other media requests have been filed for the hearing. The recent dissolution of a prominent anti-DeCastro channel, which previously provided DeCastro near daily news coverage to its limited audience and was the only YouTube channel to consistently stand up to his copyright strikes, hurt more than help DeCastro's cause, as well as apparent destruction will rob him of a constant critic. It stopped the wider distribution of DeCastro's videos to their larger audience. Going into Thursday's motion hearing, there is simply no buzz about DeCastro or his plight. Wednesday's community post reminding DeCastro's followers of his dire need for funding resulted in a total of $10 in new donations and under 200 mostly negative comments towards the YouTuber. His meandering message to his followers about historical events that had no bearing on his case robbed him of precious time he needed to get his message out, that his followers needed to step up the pressure campaigns on Justice of the Peace Ann Zimmerman, who is responsible for sentencing DeCastro to jail, and Judge Michelle Levitt, who is set to hear his appeal in July. DeCastro is still demanding that his followers petition both women for his freedom, despite Zimmerman having no role in the process, as the case has moved on to Levitt's appeals court. While instructing his fans to be respectful in their petitions, it is a clear campaign to pressure both women into doing his bidding or face the consequences for ignoring him once he is released. The YouTuber assured his fans that he would be in attendance for his Thursday hearing and that they would have the opportunity to again see his plight as he would be brought in wearing chains and the outfit of an inmate. The hearing itself is set for the discussion of DeCastro's attempt to file 187 total pages of materials for his appeal instead of the 10-page standard limit for appeal documents. DeCastro seemed enthusiastic at the possibility of the possible outcome of the hearing, as the prosecution had yet to file an opposition brief on Wednesday. This is a developing story. DeCastro listens to our musings? Say it isn't so. The associates of Jose Chille DeCastro apparently have seen and heard our printed and vocal messages that a GoFundMe fund cannot survive without constant promotion, as we were greeted with the following on DeCastro's YouTube community page on Wednesday. The links provided went to DeCastro's Legal Aid Fund, Donation Fund, Help People Fund, and his Lawyer Fund only. All dollars go to lawyers, and to Garrett Press with Ranker Van Net's Support Press with Ranker's Legal Fund, and resulted in a single $10 donation for DeCastro's Legal Aid Fund. A second donation of $25 was made well before the community post went live, bringing the fund's tally to $35 for the day and earning DeCastro an easy victory, as none of the other campaigns we follow had any sort of earnings at all on Wednesday. To be frank, it was a mixed victory for DeCastro, as yes, someone in his camp finally listened to our calls and promoted his campaigns, and $10 is nothing to scoff at during the current climate. However, a promotion aimed at his 575,000 subscribers, producing only $10, can only be considered as a failure for the self proclaimed superstar. The post itself had 186 likes as of press time and 157 comments that border more on the negative than the positive. The post should be doing much better with his audience, who are starved for new content from the YouTuber, and puts his actual subscriber numbers into question because the reach DeCastro now into question the reach DeCastro now has since he's been incarcerated. There have always been rumors that DeCastro has bought subscribers. While the rumors were never proven, his drawing power to his live streams and the reactions to community posts and his efforts always put his metrics into question. Even with his argument that the bulk of his subscribers came from viewing his shorts, and short viewers are notoriously unsupportive of long form content, 5% or 10% of his base from those shorts would have translated over into actual channel viewers, and even a small portion of those would have turned into actual cash donors. There's no rhyme or reason for the lack of participation, and it's always been a problem for DeCastro. Unlike auditors such as James Freeman and Long Island Audits, and even DirectD to some extent, who can literally go live in the middle of a Tuesday afternoon and draw thousands of followers, DeCastro struggled to break the 300-person attendance mark before his incarceration. While big events such as his post-jailing statements could draw viewership in the thousands, day to day he would struggle to get a number comparable to those put up by other YouTube auditors with a smaller subscriber count. To see this promotion fail so spectacularly, even with the loss of his base viewers scattered to the wind, as he's had no daily content for a while now, puts his true subscriber count into question and may provide an indication that his channel is currently too far gone to produce the money he needs to fight his legal or to fund his legal defense. This is one to watch. Things are bad for Chille DeCastro right now, and they may continue to get worse unless he does some sort of stunt while in jail to get serious media attention. DeCastro finds advertising pays off in Thursday win. Jose Chille DeCastro's 3 GoFundMe campaigns had good days on Thursdays, as their overall gains propelled him to a second straight win for the GoFundMe Daily Crown. Sean Paul, Long Island Audits Riaz, came in a firm second place for the day. Between DeCastro's exposure on our Nevada judge's coverage of a hearing for his appeal and his actually posting of his URLs to his fans in a community post, DeCastro managed to take in a combined $135 between the 3 campaigns. His Legal Aid Fund, Donation Fund, Help People Fund took in $65 to beat out his other 2 official accounts on Thursday. In second place out of the 3 funds came DeCastro's Lawyer Fund only. All dollars go to Lawyers campaign, which raised $50. Rounding out the pack, his Legal Defense Fund Crime Scene Tape Illegal Arrest campaign saw $20 in new donations for the day. Long Island Audits Support the Fight Against Tyranny and Corruption took second place in the overall race for the Daily Crown, taking in $50 for the day and moving up to a 93% completion rate, bringing the fund to $50,976 out of its requested $55,000. DeCastro's overall win for the day is his second straight win in a row, and while nowhere near the levels that he had achieved in the past, may be a sign of revitalized support for his campaigns now that his people are actually telling his subscribers where to find his campaigns. As reported on the R Nevada Judge's YouTube channel, Jose Chille DeCastro was awarded a minor victory on Thursday at his motion hearing for his appeal of convictions for interference in a traffic stop and obstructing an officer, as he was granted the right to exceed the page limitations on his appeals brief. Judge Michelle Levitt seemed puzzled at the hearing as to the need of said hearing, since DeCastro's attorney, Christopher Oram, had already filed his motion that had gone over the page limit by 19 pages. Oram explained that when he deals with the Nevada Supreme Court, at a hearing is required if he goes over the 30-page limit, and he was following that procedure in this case. Levitt almost immediately granted the limited increase without objection from Deputy District Attorney Alexander Chen. Chen made it clear that he had no objection to any exhibits Oram wanted to add that were presented at trial. When Oram claimed there were new exhibits that he wanted to include that were not presented at trial, Chen changed his mind after initial objection and allowed Oram to include whatever he wanted to file, and the state would deal with it later. Oram indicated that he wanted records preserved in case he needed to appeal the verdict of the July 10th hearing to the Nevada State Supreme Court, which is reflective of his client's desires to take the appeal of the two relatively minor misdemeanor charges all the way to the United States Supreme Court if necessary. Judge Levitt granted Oram's request for the page limit increases and the inclusion of the new exhibits. DeCastro again no-shows Bacon hearing. Jose Chille DeCastro was again missing from Friday's surprise hearing in his lawsuit against Kate Peter, David Team Skeptic Omo, Daniel Clement, and Michael Blue Bacon Peratini in California's Superior Court. The hearing centered around a request by Peratini's attorney to correct the published order from the May 16, 2024 hearing in the case. Essentially, the court accepted a previous tentative ruling addressing the plaintiff's motion for sanction/motion to compel as the final order in the court. However, when published, an entire section of discussion involving the awarding of sanctions to Peratini's lawyer was missing. The document abruptly starts with a confusing passage announcing the sanctions without the reasoning behind the awarding of those sanctions. Friday's hearing was essentially to get the court to republish the ruling with the passages included, ending any confusion either side may have over Judge H.J. Ford III's ruling. After reviewing Peratini's attorney's position, the judge indicated that he will review the needed changes and issue a corrected ruling and court minutes. DeCastro's presence, as usual, was unnecessary. DeCastro blames plumbing issues for cell transfer. Friday's brief update from Jose Chille DeCastro, posted on Saturday, brought an announcement from the imprisoned YouTuber that he was moved to a new housing unit due to plumbing issues. DeCastro stated that he had been moved from a minimum barracks to a medium minimum security barracks this week, as there were plumbing issues in his old barracks that were being worked on.
The YouTuber indicated that he was among the first 5 men in the old unit to be transferred to the new unit, and he was not happy about the move, as those housed in the new unit were much louder than in those who were housed in his previous unit. Describing the medium minimum barracks as having more gangbangers than those with mental health issues, DeCastro seemed concerned about his new cellmates and the new limits on free time in the new barracks. DeCastro complained loudly that inmates only have 6 hours of free time in the medium minimum barracks rather than 8 hours from the old housing unit, and that he was unhappy about needing to be confined to his bunk for an expanded period each day. While no plumbing issues at the facility have been featured in the local newspapers, the Clark County Detention Center does have a history of issues with sewage that may be responsible for the move. Back in February of 2019, the facility made headlines for a sewage spill that interrupted operations for half a day and impacted the inmate booking area, property room, employee break room, and pre-trial services area. There have been no published reports of any new or significant issues since the 2019 incident, but we will update our reporting should updates come in. A second day of goose eggs for GoFundMe pages. There are 69 days left until Jose Chille DeCastro is scheduled to be released from the Clark County, Nevada Detention Center. As the clock winds down, DeCastro's influence is probably at the lowest point it has been since he started the campaign to end Terry versus Ohio. Last week was a particularly bad week for the YouTuber. After a couple of days where things seemed to turn around and he was getting actual GoFundMe donations from promoting his campaigns, things fell off the proverbial cliff with donations. Brian Here's the Deal Young betrayed DeCastro last week by siding with Paul Unslaved. The pair's comments that DeCastro was whining too much about his jail sentence and needed to man up and do his time was a blow to the YouTuber. DeCastro didn't do himself any new favors in his Friday address. He admitted that he had been previously locked down in a minimum security area of the detention center. Then he loudly complained about free time reduction in the medium minimum security area that he was now assigned to. Even DeCastro's staunchest supporter, attorney Michael Eline, bumbled his way through the week. Eline is now DeCastro's permanent live stream replacement now that Brian Young has apparently stopped interacting with DeCastro's YouTube channel. Eline got into a fight with Merb and now faces at least the start of a claim of stolen valor as his DD-214 documents are being questioned. Adding to Eline's simple lack of knowledge of areas of the law he should be versed in, and, well, Eline seems to be on his way to driving himself into oblivion and outside of DeCastro's influence. As it stands, there are serious questions about what will be left of DeCastro's YouTube empire when he gets out of jail in those 69 days. Saturday was another day of goose eggs for his campaigns. 69 more days of goose eggs, and there won't be an empire to come back to. Castro gets new Maryland court date. Chille DeCastro gets new Maryland court date. PDocs of the public documents of Jose Chille DeCastro brought news on Sunday of updates to DeCastro's pending charges in Maryland. The charges stemmed from several incidents where DeCastro made statements to his followers on live streams earlier in the year where he is accused of doxing former associate Colin Project Constitution Campbell. DeCastro allegedly told his followers to directly harass Campbell at his home and at his father's residence, resulting in charges being filed by Campbell. A previous court hearing essentially tabled the charges until further notice because DeCastro did not show for that scheduled hearing. DeCastro did not make it to the hearing because he was in custody of the Clark County Detention Center in Las Vegas, Nevada. New filings in the case saw a motion to quash the previous summons and a new summons issued for DeCastro. A new trial for DeCastro has been scheduled for June 17, 2024. Campbell has previously been granted a 6-month peace order preventing contact by DeCastro, which expires in September of this year. DeCastro breaks down over medium security move. Jose Chille DeCastro's May 26th address, released to his YouTube channel on May 27th, focused on the YouTuber's increasing frustration as he comes to terms with being moved from a minimum security dorm to a medium minimum security dorm. DeCastro complained loudly about his new accommodations, explaining that the minimum security dorm was shut down last week and the remaining 40 inmates were distributed throughout the Clark County, Nevada detention center and landing DeCastro in the medium minimum security area. The YouTuber blasted the inmates housed in the medium minimum security dorm as gangbangers and thugs who had segregated the housing unit by race. He expressed his longing to go back to the minimum area as that unit was made up of nice and quiet homeless people and the mentally ill, who would let him go about his business in peace. Critics have been quick to point out that DeCastro's change in scenery coincides with criticism of DeCastro for overstating the hardships he faced in the minimum security area. Fellow YouTubers Brian Here's the Deal Young and Paul on Slave mercilessly mocked DeCastro last week for not serving his time like a man and for spending more time whining about his circumstances than actually coming to terms with what put him in jail in the first place. DeCastro's response that he is now in danger because of being moved to a medium minimum facility has done the YouTuber no favors, as his dramatic accounts of having to watch his back and fear of repercussions for interacting with other inmates are in the same stories he told in his now beloved minimum area. Again, blaming Justice of the Peace and Zimmerman for his predicament, DeCastro claimed that if any harm befell him while in the medium minimum area, his fans should directly blame Zimmerman. He then called for sweeping prison reform, with a bill banning judges who are married to police officers from handling criminal cases involving police officers, again wrongly stating that Justice of the Peace Zimmerman had been married to a police officer. Furthermore, DeCastro then proposed sentencing guidelines that would limit the maximum time a judge could sentence a prisoner to the average sentence they had given for the past 10 cases involving the same crimes. He also called for a jury/jail panel, which would have the ability to override jail terms for any prisoners based on fairness of sentencing. DeCastro ended his 8-minute speech by reminding his fans that it would be futile to petition Nevada Governor Joe Lombardo, as Lombardo is an ex-police officer and any sort of pardon wouldn't even start processing until well after DeCastro was released from jail. The YouTuber told his fans to focus on Justice of the Peace Zimmerman, as she alone would atone for his time in jail. DeCastro takes win for Tuesday. Attorney Michael Eline's Monday fundraiser for Jose Chille DeCastro resulted in a win for DeCastro on Tuesday in the GoFundMe Race for the Crown. DeCastro received a single $25 donation to his lawyer fund only All Dollars Go to Lawyers campaign a day after Eline's fundraiser. While technically coming a day after said fundraiser, we're going to be kind and give credit to the single donation to Eline out of pity's sake. DeCastro's Legal Aid Fund, Donation Fund, Help People Fund also saw a single donation of $10 on Tuesday. It's unclear if this one was promoted anywhere, but the donation propelled DeCastro to an unstoppable win on Tuesday with a combined take of $35. No other auditors saw donations for Tuesday. As part of our tracking, we're currently investigating the status of Craig Hendry, who has a GoFundMe listed as part of our tracker. Henry posted on his YouTube community page late last week that he had court tomorrow for multiple charges in Lake County, Indiana. He has since gone silent across all of his media channels. Searches of his Indiana public records show no hearings in any cases corresponding to the case he had listed, so it's unclear what is going on with Henry or why he's gone into total media silence. His GoFundMe campaign last received a donation on April 28, 2024, and has not been promoted by the YouTuber in the month or so we've been monitoring the campaign. As always, we do have a GoFundMe of our own, located below in the scroll. All proceeds go to keeping the lights on, eating, and writing news stories to feature here and on ReallyCoolSite.org. DeCastro to pay Bacon $4,500. As expected, Judge H.J. Ford III issued a correction to his recent ruling in favor of Michael Blue Bacon Paratini and Jose Chille DeCastro's ongoing California-based lawsuit against Paratini, David Team Skeptic Omo, Daniel Clement, and Kate Peter. DeCastro is suing the group for defamation and harassment in California's Superior Court in essentially a rehashing of his previously dismissed Massachusetts-based federal civil rights lawsuit against Peter and Josh Abrams. That case was dismissed in July of 2023. Abrams is not included in the new suit. The corrected ruling strikes the order for DeCastro to pay Blue Bacon's lawyer $4,500 by July 15, 2024, and replaced it with an order for DeCastro to pay Paratini the $4,500 directly within 20 days of the order. Judge Ford found that DeCastro improperly filed what he called a motion for sanctions, which was in fact a motion to compel further responses to DeCastro's request for production of documents as part of the discovery process. The judge found that DeCastro's motion was not supported by a required meet and confer declaration and failed to cite any authority that would allow him to rely on a verified memo of points and authorities instead of a meet and confer declaration. He also found that DeCastro failed to establish good cause for further responses, as the burden was on him to show relevance to the subject matter and specific facts to justify further discovery. As DeCastro's motion failed to provide a proper meet and confer declaration and failed to demonstrate even the most basic of good cause for further responses, Ford denied the motion and awarded sanctions in the amount of $4,500 to cover the 10 hours of legal fees at $4.50 an hour charged to Paratini by his attorney to respond to DeCastro's motion. DeCastro attacks Zimmerman again in Thursday rant. Viewers of Jose Chille DeCastro's Thursday rant got a mix of old rants and new claims, as he again called Justice of the Peace Ann Zimmerman a police-loving corrupt judge who put him in jail for no apparent reason. DeCastro's venting session was accompanied by a live premiere attended by under 100 people. When DeCastro made a rallying cry of OTVO for his audience to respond to, less than 4 OTVOs came in response from an assembly of people lacking many of his regulars. The YouTuber touched on his recent transfer to the medium minimum section of the Clark County Detention Center and complained that jailers responded that it was a correct assignment for him after multiple notes passed to guards begging for a return to the minimum area. Describing the horrors of the medium minimum security barracks, DeCastro claimed that he was in a constant 16 to 18 hour lockdown where he couldn't leave his bed. Armed only with the books he has amassed while in jail and a single bit of padding, DeCastro claimed he has been in constant confinement in the new area, living in fear for his life at all times, which were exactly the same claims he made while he was in the minimum section of the facility. DeCastro updated the status of his United States History Constitutional Law Scholar board game, claiming it was nothing like any game on the market. He also laid out plans for his DeCastro's Box product, which would now use artificial intelligence to help inmates educate themselves while incarcerated. The YouTuber turned inmate again looked forward to his July appeals date and promised that he would take action against Justice of the Peace Ann Zimmerman and the corrupt Nevada court system once he was free from imprisonment. DeCastro's appeal for his recent conviction is set to be heard on July 10th. The YouTuber indicated that if the appeal is denied, he will then take his appeal to the Nevada State Supreme Court. This is an ongoing story. DeCastro retains crown on Thursday. Jose Chille DeCastro pulled off a decisive win over Sean Paul Long Island Audit's Rios by outdrawing his rival at a 9-to-1 ratio on Thursday. It may come as no surprise that DeCastro won the day, as his fans are finally catching on to the minor promotion work done by DeCastro's employees. Fans are now seeing his fundraising needs through a combination of a recent YouTube community post and Michael Eline's fundraiser that raised awareness to two of the three campaigns DeCastro is running. DeCastro's $90 take for Thursday was spread equally between his Lawyer Fund Only, All Dollars Go to Lawyers campaign, and his Legal Aid Fund, Donation Fund, Help People Fund, the two campaigns mentioned in the recent community post on his YouTube channel. Strangely, the campaign for Press with Rancor, a DeCastro associate who DeCastro signed a contract to raise $6,000 a month for his legal defense, was also mentioned in the community post, but has received no donations at all since the promotion. Garrett Press with Rancor Van Nett is a strange case. While we'd never pick on someone's speaking voice, Van Nett seems to have trouble speaking in a range where most adults can hear him. Van Nett is currently facing felony charges of interfering with a traffic stop, essentially the same sort of charges DeCastro was recently convicted of. He refused to back away to a safe distance from an officer who was involved in a traffic stop. Claiming a vast conspiracy against him, Van Nett accused the officer's family of influencing his prosecution. He stated on multiple occasions that generations of the family had some sort of vendetta against him. DeCastro seems to have some sort of soft spot for the man, going out of his way to appear with Van Nett at the Delta County, Michigan Board of Commissioners meeting, and for some reason, DeCastro chose to take on $48,000 in debt towards Van Nett's legal funding. Now that DeCastro is imprisoned, there have been no official updates to the status of Van Nett's legal defense. Since the $6,000 owed by DeCastro is more than his GoFundMes have been making in combined totals for the month, it is unlikely that he currently has the means to make the payments at this time. The monthly payment is a burden for sure, and the payment contract was taken out solely in DeCastro's name, so only time will tell if DeCastro honored his debts or abandoned his friend to focus on his own financial needs. DeCastro wins again in Friday Showdown. It was another win for Jose Chille DeCastro on Friday, as he again edged out gains by Sean Paul Long Island Audit Rios to take the GoFundMe crown for the second straight day. While the fighting was vicious between the two, DeCastro's Legal Aid Fund, Donation Fund, Help People Fund edged out Rios's Support the Fight Against Tyranny and Corruption Fund by amassing $30 to LIA's $10 in donations from rabid fans. While the overall scale of donations was down for DeCastro's victory, his victory isn't something we'd be talking about a week ago. His fans are finally finding two of his GoFundMe URLs, but are they making a difference? DeCastro's Lawyer Fund Only, All Donations Go to Lawyers Fund, made a total of $145 for the month of May. DeCastro's Legal Aid Fund, Donation Fund, Help People Fund made a total of $410 for the month of May. DeCastro's Legal Defense Fund Crime Scene Tape Illegal Arrest Fund made $754 for the month of May. In total, DeCastro's funding took in $1,309 for the month. In perspective, unless he terminated Press with Rancor's deal, he owes roughly $6,000 for his next installment for the month of June. He owes Michael Blue Bacon Paratini $4,500 within the next 14 days. He also owes Paratini $1,635 from a previous round of sanctions that we have no evidence that he paid. He has also hired a new attorney in Maryland to defend him against his upcoming June 17, 2022 criminal trial in charges related to his alleged harassment of Colin Project Constitution Campbell. He also hired a new criminal attorney in Las Vegas to handle his pretrial hearing on June 24th, 2024, for his misdemeanor charges in the city of Las Vegas for obstruction. With only $1,309 coming in from his campaigns and nearly $12,000 in payments due right now, is his YouTube revenue alone enough to make a difference? This is one to watch. DeCastro may win his upcoming appeal, but as we've previously discussed, will there be anything left for him when he gets out of jail? DeCastro takes Sunday in GoFundMe fight. Saturday brought another easy win for Jose Chille DeCastro, as his lawyer fund only, all dollars go to lawyers fund, took in $20 and was the only fund that took in any donations for the day. While the $20 certainly wasn't a lot of money to talk about, it is $20 more than any of the other funds did on Saturday, and certainly is a bragging point for the jailed YouTuber. That said, DeCastro's other funds were completely ignored, which should be a warning sign for the YouTuber, as his people have again forgotten to promote his GoFundMe URLs in new content. It would not be a surprise if his funds put up goose eggs for Sunday. Turning to the health of the other funds we follow, yesterday we looked at the drawing power of Jose DeCastro's GoFundMes for the month of May. Today we'll expand this review to the rest of the campaigns. Overall, the 14 campaigns that we follow took in a total of $2,303 for the month. As previously mentioned, $1,309 of that money came from funding put towards DeCastro's overall campaigns. Individually, the story is dire for some of the funds, so let's take a look. Christopher Cordova's Defend DMA in the Fight Against Corruption and Oathbreakers took in $150 for the month and hadn't had a donation in 23 days. Craig Hendry's To Support Craig's Work took in a total of $0 for the month. His last donation was over a month ago. Garrett Van Net's Support Press with Ranker's Legal Fund also took in $0, with his last donation of $20 coming over a month ago. Christopher Ruff's Help Christopher Ruff Direct D Clear His Name Fund took in $140 for the month, with a donation of $125 made 2 weeks ago. The Unofficial Support Delete Laws from the Tyranny He Fights Fund took in no money for the month, and last saw a donation of $25 a month ago. Christopher Reader's Help for Public Safety Fight Fraud Recovered Fund made $0 for the month, with its last donation coming 2 months ago. Sean Paul Riaz's Unlawful Arrest and Constitutional Rights Fund took in $30 for the month. Its last donation was 3 days ago. Riaz's Support the Fight Against Tyranny and Corruption Fund drew $649 for the month, topping out all of the non-DeCastro funds. Its last donation came 2 days ago. LIA's Fund Legal Defense Against Unlawful Arrest Fund drew $25 for the month, with that single $25 donation coming 19 days ago. LIA's Help with Criminal Defense Attorney for Case Fund drew $0 for the month and last saw a donation 4 months ago. LIA's Help LIA Legal Fees to Fight Tyrants lawsuit also drew $0 for the month and last saw a donation 2 months ago. The total result saw half the funds we cover receive goose eggs for the month. The other half, without DeCastro's contributions, saw roughly $1,000 go to their coffers. Even with the addition of DeCastro's take, $2,303 drawn by some of the most influential YouTubers in the industry for May has to be a source of ongoing concern as June marches on. As always, if you'd like to contribute to our own funding, we do have a GoFundMe of our own located in the scroll below. All proceeds go to keeping the lights on, eating, and writing new stories to feature here and on ReallyCoolSite.org. No winners in GoFundMe race for Sunday. As we predicted, all the GoFundMe campaigns we follow resulted in goose eggs for Sunday, June 2nd, 2024. It wasn't a big prediction. None of the major players put out videos that directed their viewers to donate. It's just that simple. If you don't tell your viewers that you need the funds or that you're hard up for cash, they're not going to pitch in and help. Also, as expected, Jose Chille DeCastro's recent surge in donations finally tapered off after several days of gains. This, again, was due to the simple fact that DeCastro is not putting out content on his channel, let alone content that is directing his followers to support him through his campaigns. Every single video on DeCastro's channel had been a promotional tool to feed the product line and his crowdsourcing campaign. If DeCastro is good at anything, it's the fact that he can get his viewers to shell out their hard-earned cash in droves on levels that no one else can do. His falling out with Brian Here's the Deal Young impacted him greatly. Young didn't share DeCastro's views on everything, but he had the mindset of an auditor or a sovereign citizen, even if his presentation was lacking. Young brought a legitimate alternative to DeCastro that could be maximized into news shorts and produced videos. Again, while not on DeCastro's charisma level, each video with an actual auditor helps keep his audience that has been without DeCastro to guide them and will be without him for another 2 months. If Young could have been taught to pitch the products and the campaigns, things wouldn't have been great, but they would have more than assured that the money was still coming in. As far as Michael Eline goes, well, we'll get to him another day. He's been a disaster since day one, and his troubles have ultimately hurt DeCastro more than it's helped. Where the channel stands now should be frightening to any DeCastro fan. It's been 6 days since the last posted livestream on his channel. It's been 2 days since the last video featuring recycled material from when DeCastro was a free man. It's been another 3 days since DeCastro's last quote-unquote jail diary. While his editor is still cranking out shorts, none of the content other than the jail diaries goes over the top in promoting products or making any actual attempt to promote the GoFundMe campaigns. To outsiders, it looks like whomever DeCastro has left working for him is simply running out of recent material featuring DeCastro in order to fuel videos for the channel. Shorts are easier to do, but long-form content with anything that makes any sense for product and fundraising campaigns are extremely limited unless you want to do deep cuts. And deep cuts, as any Dave Matthews Band fan will tell you, don't sell albums. Unless things change and change quickly, expect more goose eggs this week for DeCastro. And where DeCastro goes, so does the industry. Phantom editorials incoming. DeCastro's unusual sleep patterns highlight jail talk. Jose Chille DeCastro meandered through another address from the Clark County, Nevada detention center, offering nothing new to his followers other than revealing his new sleep patterns on Monday. DeCastro told his followers that he had taken up sleeping from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. each day, putting pencil erasers in his ears to block out the noise, then stays up all night to work on his board game and read the books his fans have provided to him. The YouTuber insisted again that despite the lack of restrictions on sleeping patterns and social life in jail, he was serving in extreme conditions and that danger was around every corner as he served the remaining 61 days of his sentence in the detention center. Declaring himself completely innocent, DeCastro asserted that he would win his appeal and his record would be completely clean again, despite numerous run-ins with the law over the years and minor convictions as a youth. DeCastro also promised a huge settlement once the verdict was overturned, but broke down later, claiming that he was too proud to beg for help, reminding his viewers that their donations and gift baskets keep him alive in jail and thanking them for it. Of course, the YouTuber, who is in severe need of an influx of cash, forgot to mention his cash apps and crowdsourcing campaigns during his brief video, again focusing on requesting gift baskets he claims to trade for bottled water. Finishing with a reminder to his fans they need to use his new address and write only on white paper with black or blue ink, DeCastro thanked his fans for their hundreds of letters before ending the live stream. More goose eggs in Eline's suspicious broadcast. Tuesday saw more goose eggs come out for all of the campaigns that we follow, including those of Jose Chille DeCastro, who saw some notable, unusual activity on his YouTube channel. After our recent expose, DeCastro's minions addressed some of our criticisms and upped the production of short video content. And, of all things, a Michael Eline hosted livestream on DeCastro's channel did 57,000 views as of press time. There had always been rumors of DeCastro buying viewers and buying subscribers. On days where his non-short content surged above the averages on his channel, it was easy to accuse him of it because the YouTube algorithm didn't normally pick up his content. Also, the fact that DeCastro's viewership would often increase by the same percentage every day and would drop off each month in the same days gave evidence that his channel could have had monthly buys of subscribers that ended in specific dates. Since DeCastro's incarceration, and evidenced on Eline's own channel, 57,000 viewers doesn't come easy to content with Michael Eline hosting it. It's suspicious as there were under 200 likes and comments as press time, and the side chat replay didn't seem active for all of those viewers. But YouTube hasn't reacted, though many people have reported the content. In the absence of everything else, and as illogical as it sounds, maybe Eline simply got lucky, and 55,000 more viewers than normal came to see one specific live stream he's done on DeCastro's channel and quietly watched without interacting. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. But as usual, no URLs were shared, and DeCastro again brought in goose eggs for the day. Viewership only counts when viewers are converted into participants. Participants on a scale of 57,000 would like, share, subscribe, and probably donate. But they pinky swear it's a true number. It's up to you to decide if they're somehow wrong. If you'd like to help us out with a pinky swear, we do have a GoFundMe of our own located in the scroll below. All proceeds go to keeping the lights on, eating, and writing new stories to feature here and on ReallyCoolSite.org. DeCastro takes day for GoFundMe title. Jose Chille DeCastro ended multiple days of goose eggs with a spectacular take of $85 to his legal aid fund donation fund Help People Fund for Wednesday, outpacing the combined 0.00 total of all the other campaigns we follow. The total takes the fund to $26,535 out of a $35,000 total it seeks, or 76% towards completion. There seems to be no motivation for the 3 donations to the fund, as it's not featured in any of the videos released on DeCastro's channels on Wednesday. DeCastro continued his upswing of videos for Wednesday with a number of new shorts and a refocus on his channel, which had previously given the appearance that it was starting to go dormant. Overall, DeCastro's 3 GoFundMe campaigns have otherwise flatlined. Combined, they make up $49,460, or 30% of the overall take of the $163,465 that the combined funds have taken in so far. The Legal Aid Fund, Donation Fund, Help People Fund, and Lawyer Fund only, all dollars go to lawyers' funds, are at 76% and 83% of their totals. But $85 in a single day won't make much of an impact by the time DeCastro needs to pay his bills. His win is appreciable for what it is. $85 is nothing to scoff at, but at the same time, the competition is literally non-existent. No one is trying. A win is a win, but when no one else is trying, does it count? A lot to think about as we move towards Thursday's tallies. As always, if you'd like to help us out, we do have a GoFundMe of our own located in the scroll below. All proceeds go to keeping the lights on, eating, and writing new stories to feature here on ReallyCoolSite.org. DeCastro wins Thursday. Is he listening to us? Jose Chille DeCastro seemed to have heard the persistent cries of do better from us who follow GoFundMe markets as he initiated changes on his channel over the past week, which may have led to his GoFundMe win on Thursday. DeCastro again outpaced all other campaigns we follow by actually taking in money to their campaigns, and earned the win with a ginormous take of $200 from a single donation to his legal aid fund, donation fund, Help People Fund. Thursday's changes saw Brian Here's the Deal Young return to the channel to promote DeCastro's product line, using DeCastro's famous trifold as a green screen behind him, and cover a wide range of topics in a more Chille-like approach to auditing. Young and DeCastro had previously been at odds with one another over comments made by Paul and Slave on a live interview presented on Young's Here's the Deal channel. Young appeared to agree with Paul and Slave's criticism of DeCastro for claiming to be a constitutional law scholar while relying on lawyers in his criminal cases when he lacked the actual knowledge to defend himself. The YouTube also seemed to agree with Paul and Slave's comments that DeCastro should stop whining about his time in jail and serve his time like a man. Young's return to live hosting on DeCastro's channel did a respectable 6,600 views in the 14 hours since it went live, but alas, could not compare to the numbers put up by Michael Eline's last appearance on DeCastro's channel. That appearance supposedly organically brought in 58,000 views since going live earlier in the week. While that number was nowhere reflective of the viewing numbers that Eline's lives do on DeCastro's channel or on Eline's own channel, it has to be disappointing to the team, as they did so many things right in their latest presentation to right the sinking ship and bring in donations, and weren't rewarded by massive viewing numbers that Eline got earlier in the week. They promoted the products. They showed examples of the product. They even put an actual auditor up to host and connect with DeCastro's audience. It worked, as DeCastro took in $200 to one of his GoFundMe campaigns without even mentioning the URL for the campaign. But there's still a comparison to Eline's huge numbers that will always dog them until they can reach the point where they can match his successes on DeCastro's channel. As always, if you'd like to help out, we do have a starving GoFundMe campaign of our own located in the scroll below. All proceeds go to keeping the lights on, eating, and writing new stories to feature here and on ReallyCoolSite.org. Prosecution responds to DeCastro appeal. The respondent's answering brief was released on Thursday in Jose Chille DeCastro's appeal of his recent Las Vegas conviction for obstruction of a police officer and interference in a crime scene. DeCastro's lawyer had previously been granted a motion to overstep the boundaries of the court's page-length rules in filing his briefing for this case, and this is the state's reply to that extended briefing and 100-page appendix. Reading a lot like boilerplate responses, but very effective boilerplate responses, Chief Deputy District Attorney Alexander Chen's response to DeCastro's submission essentially decimated the YouTuber's arguments. The arguments start with Chen's assertion that while DeCastro was not arrested for filming, therefore his First Amendment rights were not violated, there are still time and place limits on the First Amendment. Essentially, because DeCastro claimed to be press, it affords him no other special rights when it comes to crime scenes or anywhere else. During traffic stops, for example, the First Amendment does not give a member of the press the ability to interfere with that stop in the course of their journalistic duties. Based on numerous rulings, the First Amendment right to film can be restricted in order for police to take reasonable steps to maintain safety and control to secure crime scenes and accident sites. While Officer Bork couldn't tell DeCastro to move on just for filming, an argumentative and insulting DeCastro refusing to move to a safe distance was an example of where limits of the First Amendment would apply. Attacking DeCastro's idea that the laws were unconstitutionally vague, Chen wrote that NRS 197.190, one of two laws DeCastro was charged with breaking, was recently upheld as constitutional in February of 2004 by the Nevada Court of Appeals. DeCastro's further assertions that he was a well-known journalist and known by police to be nonviolent cannot carry any more weight or provide special treatment to him in his role as press. What was found by the court was a direct example of a violation of the law as written. Officer Bork encountered a man interfering in his traffic stop who was insulting and argumentative and refused to comply when asked to move away so Bork could conduct the stop in a safe manner. No restrictions were put on filming other than asking DeCastro to move to a reasonable distance away for everyone's safety. Addressing DeCastro's claims that Justice of the Peace Ann Zimmerman was biased against him and should not have had the ability to sit in judgment over him, Chen wrote that by Nevada law, all judges are presumed not to be biased. DeCastro simply screaming bias without evidence is not sufficient to disqualify Zimmerman from the case. Zimmerman's order to take phones from DeCastro and everyone else in the courtroom after receiving reports that DeCastro was filming in the courtroom was well within her rights. DeCastro could have had the ability to film if he had put in a request to film, much like our Nevada judges did in advance of the proceedings. The general ban on filming applies to all times within the courthouse, including the break time DeCastro is now claiming he filmed in, and permission must be obtained in order to do any filming. Finally, DeCastro's claims of lack of effective assistance from his attorney fail, according to the Chief Deputy District Attorney, as DeCastro showed no obvious bias or failings on the part of attorney Michael Mee. DeCastro's claims that Mee failed to submit DeCastro's own footage of the incident fail, as the submission of footage would not have changed the outcome of the trial, as the same information was already presented by the body cam footage of the prosecution. While DeCastro made the accusation of bias and ineffective counsel, much like with the rest of the accusations he made in the appeal, an accusation without evidence to prove his claims is not enough to reach the legal standards he needs to be successful in his arguments. In a good bit of news for DeCastro, PDocs of the public documents of Jose DeCastro recently reported that DeCastro had another day taken off his current jail sentence and will be released from the jail on August 2nd, 2024. No winners for Saturday GoFundMe race. As expected, Saturday again resulted in goose eggs across the board for the GoFundMe campaigns we follow, as there have been no significant updates from any of the YouTubers involved in the campaigns that would result in donations. Jose Chille DeCastro in particular was silent again on Saturday, bringing concerns from supporters, as it has been a week since a direct statement from the YouTuber, who is currently being housed in the Clark County, Nevada Detention Center. DeCastro's last statement was released on June 3, 2024, and involved an update on his unusual sleep patterns while in jail. In that video, the YouTuber claimed that he was sleeping from late morning through most of the afternoon and staying up all night in order to work on his various projects and lawsuits. While his channel had new live content featuring Brian Here's the Deal Young and attorney Michael Eline, neither indicated that they were in current contact with DeCastro, nor did his channel feature new statements on his YouTube community page updating any changes in status from DeCastro. Speculation by many of his followers has been that DeCastro has been either in an extended lockdown or he has had his phone privileges taken away. DeCastro had been notably unhappy about being moved from a minimum barracks to a medium minimum barracks that offered less free time and more limits to what he could do during the day. DeCastro's absence has also affected his social blade standings, with his channel falling from a B+ status when he went into jail to a current status of a B. His subscriber rate has also fallen by 72.7% in the last 30 days to a new low of 6,000 new viewers for that period. Likewise, DeCastro's video views are down by 48.8%, according to the site, with just 9.5 million video views in the last 30 days. While the site still estimates that he'll make anywhere between $28,000 and $456,000 in revenue from YouTube for the year, and he has yet to start losing subscribers, he's only averaging 200 new subscribers a day and has gone for long periods of time without hitting measurable new subscriber additions on Social Blade. The numbers paint a bleak picture for DeCastro, who has a little over 53 days left on his jail sentence. With his proxies ineffective in maintaining his one spectacular average, that of subscriber count, even with the allegations he had purchased subscribers, his channel is clearly in a spiral at this time. We'll wait and see if his proxies will be able to recover from it, or if they have actually truly managed to put it in a death spiral while he has been languishing in jail. Eline's incredible numbers have no impact on Goose Egg Sunday. YouTuber Michael Eline put up spectacular yet controversial viewing numbers on his latest broadcast as Jose Chille DeCastro's replacement host on DeCastro's YouTube channel, but his efforts resulted in no donations at all for DeCastro's ongoing GoFundMe campaigns. Eline ended Sunday night's broadcast with an above-average 5,000 YouTube views. That number, incredibly, grew to 25,000 within an hour at the end of the broadcast, then grew again to 35,000 and sat at 42,000 viewers when it seemed to taper out by 10 p.m. Eastern. Those viewers didn't interact with chat, didn't leave comments, and didn't provide likes to the video. They just appeared and observed waves until stopping, leading to the usual accusations that they were paid viewers, not necessarily viewers paid for by Eline. We defend Eline as he is proven to be incompetent in almost all aspects of his persona. His legal advice has been decimated by those in the legal community who actually went to law school and have active practices. His hosting on his own channel rarely pulls in more than 100 viewers, notably more than our own incompetent efforts, but nowhere near the viewership numbers that he's gotten in the past couple of appearances on DeCastro's channel. Our opinion is that he wouldn't know where to buy viewers or have the money to pay for those viewers. On the other hand, though, if someone would pay for viewership to come in waves and come in after the event in the most suspicious way possible, it'd be Michael Eline. But those are opinions and not proven facts. We also have previous evidence of outside actors who would purchase viewers, likes, and subscribers on behalf of DeCastro. Before his current incarceration in the Clark County, Nevada Detention Center, DeCastro had days when his likes would mysteriously outpace his actual viewing numbers. DeCastro never addressed it, and there was always bragging on various Discord servers that outside forces paid for those likes. History is there for the troll, but proof, as always, will be hard to come by. Eline could have just hit the algorithm again, and those viewers were just overly impressed with his presentation and didn't stick around to become subscribers, according to Social Blade Sunday status updates to DeCastro's channel. They did that for, reasons? As for the rest, it was goose eggs across the board. Eline brought in no money for DeCastro despite his efforts, and neither did the rest of the motley crew that we follow. It's starting to look like a long week as we head into the middle of the month. As always, if you'd like to help us out, we do have a GoFundMe of our own, located in the scroll below. All proceeds go to keeping the lights on, eating, and writing news stories to feature here and on ReallyCoolSite.org. DeCastro claims to be back in minimum housing. Jose Chille DeCastro's daily update for June 7, 2024, released on June 10, 2024, contained the news that his current barracks in the Clark County, Nevada Detention Center was apparently being converted to a minimum security area. DeCastro claimed that all the inmates with a history of violent behavior or charges of violence against them were rounded up from his current barracks and rehoused in other parts of the detention center. They were replaced by homeless and mentally ill individuals. Claiming that this was a victory, DeCastro claimed that he was now back with the minimum security status individuals where he belonged, after being housed in the barracks classified as a medium minimum security status over the past 2 weeks. Since DeCastro has not changed locations, and only the population of the barracks had changed, it is unclear if the draconian rules of the barracks were also lifted. DeCastro had previously complained loudly that the particular barracks had offered less free time and more lockdowns than his previous barracks. DeCastro had also previously claimed that he was moved from an area devoted to the lowest characterization of danger, minimum, to a higher classification, medium minimum, due to plumbing issues in his previous barracks. Speculation by outsiders claimed that DeCastro was punished by reclassification at the time for his demands to Brigade Justice of the Peace Ann Zimmerman, who decided his recent criminal case, with petitions in order to force her to free him from imprisonment. DeCastro briefly touched on that case, claiming that his upcoming appeals hearing was an assured victory for his cause. He then hedged his bets, stating that if he lost, he'd then appeal to the Nevada State Supreme Court, as at least one judge on the panel would surely stand up for the First Amendment and take up DeCastro's cause. Despite the outcome, DeCastro promised swift retribution towards the state of Nevada once he was released from jail. He promised a lawsuit against the state for its improper guilty verdict, sentencing, and jailing. but would also be pursuing charges against those judges who ruled against him. DeCastro received some good news on Monday as the trial for his Maryland criminal case for harassment charges levied against him by former partner Colin Project Constitution Campbell was moved from next week to September of 2024. No reason was given for the delay, though a motion had been filed on Friday that apparently called for the delay. We will continue to provide updates to DeCastro's criminal cases as we receive them. Life returns to normal. Goose eggs again on Monday. The GoFundMe market entered a new phase on Monday, as, for the second time since we began tracking it, we've seen goose eggs across the board for 3 days in a row. Complete lack of activity by the majority of the subjects of our tracking is key to it, but strangely, funds that should have received notice, Jose Chille DeCastro's in particular, saw no gains at all despite massive attention drawn to the live streams on his channel. DeCastro's high numbers from Michael Eline's Sunday stream, the second in under a week to surpass 40,000 viewers, have brought out the conspiracy theorists and trolls as DeCastro's own Monday address to his followers has done a little over 3,200 views as of press time, but has more likes and comments than Eline's video. The jail address by DeCastro has seen 442 likes to 276 comments since going up about 17 hours before press time, to Eline's live stream on DeCastro's channel that did 145 likes to 66 comments since going live, again roughly 36 hours before press time. While not a sign of anything tangible, it does tend to figure that if Eline had an influx of actual support, they'd be a little more vocal about it. Again, with lack of actual evidence, we must conclude that Eline just got lucky. He somehow hit the YouTube algorithm in a sweet spot, but yeah. In the past, the culprits of views and like buys have made it known. Right now, there's been radio silence from anyone who would normally troll DeCastro's channel, and until somebody breaks the silence, we must stick with the facts until the truth comes out. Oh dear lordy, somebody start talking. DeCastro's lack of gains on his GoFundMe campaigns after such a massive showing by Eline also points to a troll, but again, DeCastro wasn't alone in that regard. No one is putting out quality content or promoting their crowdsourced campaigns at this time. Without oxygen, as we always say, the fire can't spread. Which brings us to the daily reminder of our own ongoing GoFundMe campaign as we suck the air out of the room. As always, if you'd like to help us out, we do have a GoFundMe of our own, located in the scroll below. All proceeds go to keeping the lights on, eating, and writing new stories to feature here and on ReallyCoolSite.org. Goose eggs dominate Tuesday GoFundMe take. It was the fourth day of goose eggs for campaigns that we follow, with no one stepping up to take on the GoFundMe crown. Absolute silence reigned across the YouTube channels we follow, as it seems that late spring has taken the life out of most of the YouTubers involved in their campaigns, perhaps waiting for next week's equinox and an early summer refresh before moving forward. YouTuber Jose Chille DeCastro may address new developments in his ongoing criminal and civil matters this week, as he had another day taken away from his current jail sentence and now will be released on August 1st, 2024. DeCastro also received some odd news about a lawsuit he's involved in involving a car crash from 2 years ago. Pursuant to California Rules of Court, Rules 3.72-3.730, a completed case management statement must be filed at least 15 calendar days prior to the case management conference. The case management statement may be filed jointly by all parties/attorneys of record or individually by each party/attorney of record. You must be familiar with the case and be fully prepared to participate effectively in the case management conference. At the case management conference, the court may make pre-trial orders, including the following but not limited to: an order establishing a discovery schedule, an order referring the case to alternative dispute resolution, an order reclassifying the case, an order setting subsequent conference and trial date, or other orders to achieve the goals of the Trial Court Delay Reduction Act. Notice is hereby given that if you do not file the case management statement or appear and effectively participate at the case management conference, the court may impose sanctions pursuant to LAS Local Rule 3.37 Code of Civil Procedure Sections 177.5, 575.2, 583.150, 583.360, and 583.410. Government Code Section 68608, Subdivision B, and California Rules of Court Rule 2.2. DeCastro has until June 16, 2024 to reply to the court's orders, though it's unclear if DeCastro has officially been served in the case. This almost forgotten case illustrates another reason why DeCastro, of all the YouTubers we follow, should be promoting his multiple GoFundMe campaigns, as he will need a competent legal strategy to move forward. We'll continue to monitor the lawsuit and DeCastro's various deadlines as we receive more updates. More details on the lawsuit can be found at PDocs's The Public Documents of Jose Maria Chille DeCastro's website. As always, if you'd like to help out, we do have a GoFundMe of our own, located in the scroll below. All proceeds go to keeping the lights on, eating, and writing new stories to feature here and on ReallyCoolSite.org. DeCastro's nonsensical defense. Jose Chille DeCastro returned to address his followers on his latest recording from the Clark County Detention Center on Thursday with an extended statement about his appeal. DeCastro said that the only reason he was in jail was that he had a bad day at his trial for obstructing an officer and interfering in a traffic stop. He claimed that he was upset and called the bailiff a pig, his lawyer did a horrible job, and that the biased judge had watched his videos. He took no responsibility for his actions before or after his jailing, and went into a lengthy statement that a recent court case that reaffirmed the legitimacy of one of the laws he had been charged with breaking would actually help defend him at his upcoming appeal. Cherry-picking from the higher court's decision in the case of Wilson versus the First Judicial District Court of the state of Nevada, DeCastro read passages that he claimed would show that he had every right to film the police as a journalist and as a First Amendment auditor. His new defense centered on the word willingly from the ruling by the court, that someone must willingly decide to interfere with a police officer in the course of that police officer's duties. DeCastro latched onto this, repeatedly stating that he did not intend to disrupt the traffic stop he was arrested for interfering in, so he must be freed. With victory assured, DeCastro felt that he would be freed immediately after his appeal hearing, then pledged to sue the shit out of Clark County, Nevada, for unlawful imprisonment. DeCastro went on to say that he had good and bad jailers, and he didn't understand why some of the guards would chill and others would berate and scream at detainees for their entire shifts. The jailed YouTuber finished his broadcast by claiming that he had an idea for a new device to replace handcuffs, and he had sent the idea to his attorney to be patented. Attorney Patrick J. Darcy, a frequent critic of DeCastro's videos, seemed to need a drink as he processed DeCastro's meandering statement in a video released hours later. Darcy said that his opinion hadn't changed and that DeCastro would likely lose his appeal. He reminded DeCastro that he had made no mention of the Wilson case in his original 150-page briefing to the appeals court, and must do so in his reply brief before bringing it up at the hearing. While Darcy said he didn't support DeCastro, it was more important to clarify the confusing laws in Nevada regarding obstruction of a police officer. DeCastro's appeal could do that and bring needed changes to the law if successful. DeCastro's appeal is set for July 10, 2024. DeCastro LVMPD suit in final stages. The defendants in Jose Chille DeCastro's lawsuit seeking a multi-million-dollar judgment against the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police went for the jugular on Friday in filing a motion for summary judgment. Friday's motion was accompanied by the body cam footage of all the officers on the scene, DeCastro's videos released to his YouTube channel analyzing the March 2023 arrest, and a separate series of videos from DeCastro's channel where he admits that he had intended to provoke arrest in the incident in order to file suit against the LVMPD. The defense also points out the inclusion of the video of DeCastro's pat-down, where he alleged that he was viciously struck in the groin. DeCastro did not react to Officer Brandon Bork's pat-down, and the footage does not show a strike to DeCastro's groin. In the legal arguments, the defense pointed out that despite DeCastro's claims, the 1st, 2nd, 10th, and 11th causes of action were already dismissed with prejudice by the judge last year. DeCastro included them in his second amended complaint, despite the fact that they were already dismissed. They also assert that DeCastro's claim of excessive force cannot stand, as there was no evidence presented of excessive force. Likewise, the failure to intervene cause of action fails, as there was no reason to intervene. According to the defense, the selective enforcement claim fails due to the fact that while DeCastro made the claim that the defendants selectively enforced laws against people with white lips, brown skin, people that express criticism over law enforcement, those recording police interactions, and those publicizing information on police misconduct, he's provided no evidence to back those claims. The defense contends the rest of the causes of actions failed due to similar circumstances. DeCastro has made the claims but never followed through with proving the claims. They conclude that a summary judgment should be granted, as there's simply no evidence to back DeCastro's claims. DeCastro himself may not get the chance to officially reply to the motion, as before he was convicted of the charges involved in the case, he had then attorney Michael Mee make an appearance in the case and take over as counsel on record. The YouTuber is currently claiming that Mee mishandled his criminal case in relation to these charges, and it is unclear if Mee is still working with DeCastro in the case. No change of record has been made, so Mee is still responsible for any response filings at press time. With DeCastro distracted by all of his other legal cases, this case may end up having to wait for DeCastro to respond to the motion until after he is eventually released from the Clark County, Nevada detention center, if it survives that long. Fake Chille GoFundMe wins day. Now you're just mocking me. This has got to be a scam. Who in their right mind would donate to a fake GoFundMe? I'm going through the list. It's got to be someone's sock account, but a $40 donation towards the fan-run Support Delete Laws from the Tyranny He Fights GoFundMe won the freaking day. I'll say that again. A single donation to a fake GoFundMe run by someone obviously scamming in the name of Jose Chille DeCastro won the day. It means another week of this segment and column. Gee, thanks. It means Shuggy gets another updated XLS. It means I'll never, ever, ever get out of writing this column. Somebody out there hates me. That's for sure. Speaking of hating this reporter, Christopher Direct D. Ruff was joined by the YouTuber known as Jim Freedom for a brief live stream on Saturday, simulcast to their multiple YouTube channels for a long discussion of media credits? At issue was Ruff's pivot from First Amendment auditor to media mogul. He and Freedom Jim run their street network media outlet, which had exclusive access to the trial of Austin Davis, the founder of the nonprofit AZ Hugs Group. Davis is on trial for holding unpermitted food events in Tempe, Arizona, without a permit. According to Ruff, Davis is facing 6 months in prison for these activities, and his trial is of great interest in the area. A deal was made between Jim Freedom and local News 12 for use of Freedom's footage from the courtroom, as long as News 12 attributed it to Freedom's Street News Network. News 12 declined to do so when they used the footage, which led to a dispute between the parties. The Street News Network initially providing pool coverage for the other media outlets. Both News 12 and Jim Freedom now have the ability to film in court, which brings up a couple of concerns that you should think about. Despite what people think about DirectD and Jim Freedom and their First Amendment activities, they went through the process as a media organization and were granted rights to essentially run the pool camera for this case in exchange for credit for their work. On first appearance, it seems like a case of the bigger media outlets forcing the smaller outlet out of an exclusive. But is it really? If Street News Network was indeed a pool provider, then attribution wasn't necessary. Court TV provides the pool camera for the Karen Reed murder case, for example, without the expectation of credit for their work. While the other members of the pool may help with costs, it's really an informal agreement that allows use of the footage and keeps the party running the pool camera from keeping exclusives for themselves from the footage they shot. News 12 used the footage without attribution. However, they took things further and claimed that they had the exclusive with only their reporter in the courtroom when Jim Freedom was there and reporting. Perhaps they meant mainstream media in their statement. But it's insulting at best to claim an exclusive when they clearly knew that another reporter was there, let alone providing them with the actual footage. I know the line is blurred with everyone claiming to be a journalist on YouTube. I do not claim that title for this reason. I'm a blogger. I run a blog. But at the same time, I write stories, I distribute news, I report on things. If I hear something from another reporter or use another reporter's information, I do my best to provide credit for that information. I would hope that other outlets would do the same when using my reporting. In the case of News 12, despite how I may feel about Jim Freedom's activities outside of reporting, if they had a deal, they had a deal. Attribution is necessary. I personally dislike Aidan Turtleboy Kearney, but if he's the source of information, then I attribute that information to him. It's the right thing to do. News 12 was in the wrong for what they didn't do in this case. Again, as the line blurs and more YouTubers cross over into the mainstream media, there will be more cases like this. There will be more resistance, and there will be a lot more abuse of the term, but fair is fair. If Street News Network had a deal with News 12, News 12 should have abided by that deal. As always, if you'd like to keep us reporting news stories every day, we do have a GoFundMe of our own located in the scroll below. All proceeds go to keeping the lights on, eating, and writing news stories to feature here on ReallyCoolSite.org. Another questionable night for Eline. Michael Eline's questionable performance on Jose Chille DeCastro's livestream brought about more questions than answers on Sunday, as his extraordinarily high viewership figures brought no donations at all to DeCastro's ongoing GoFundMe efforts. Sorry, a moment. Goose eggs! Glorious goose eggs. Zeros across the board. Sunday came and nothing happened. No weird random donations to fake Chille GoFundMes. No pity $7 donations to make me go nuts. Just glorious goose eggs. It was a lovely thing to return to, and a reminder that if we get a complete 7 days without a donation for all these funds, this column goes on temporary retirement and life is glorious again. Oh, somebody, someone hear my pleas. It doesn't make any sense, though, at least in regard to at least one of the GoFundMes involving Jose Chille DeCastro and that performance by Eline. Michael Eline had another live stream on DeCastro's channel last night. Sunday night, Michael Eline, 600 views observed in the room when it was live. They were doing everything right, though. Gloria AD was literally spamming the GoFundMe stuff with an actual link to DeCastro's real GoFundMe URL. BZ Watchdog was doing trifold commercials. They had a very active chat for 600 people, and the scroll was believable for that amount. But nobody donated. No changes have been observed in DeCastro's GoFundMe accounts. Now, mind you, our opinion is that either Eline purchased viewers or somebody purchased them for him, as the post-live viewership has grown exponentially. 600 became 1,500, 1,500 became 2,000, and so on until, as of press time, the viewership is up to 21,000 viewers. There's absolutely nothing to justify that number, but it is what it is. When Eline does everything right, we have the weird bounce in numbers and absolutely no donations to the GoFundMes. You must wonder if the trifold and 1A cop card sales were also just as bad. DeCastro, a trained pitchman, would often give up and just offer 2-for-1 deals and other gimmicks to make a handful of real sales over a 3-hour period. The most we saw him record or claim to record was 13 sales in a 3-hour period when he went into full-on pitchman mode. It was a mix of digital and real sales, and there may have been a sweatshirt in there, but that was the best he could do when he was live in front of a rabid audience. This is Eline. This is BZ Watchdog. You commend them for trying, but they're not DeCastro. They're not born pitchmen, and most of their audience isn't real. Just as 21,000 has changed to 30,000 viewers as I write this, I'm highly doubting they're making a real difference at this point. As always, if you'd like to make a real difference in our life and keep news stories coming every day, we do have a GoFundMe of our own located in the scroll below. All proceeds go to keeping the lights on, eating, and writing news stories to feature here and on ReallyCoolSite.org. DeCastro due in court today. Jose Chille DeCastro is set to appear in California court today as part of the latest hearing in his lawsuit against Kate Peter, Team Skeptic, Daniel Clement, and Michael Blue Bacon Paratini. The YouTuber is expected to miss his fourth or fifth hearing in a row today, as he is incarcerated in the Clark County, Nevada Detention Center and apparently has not attempted to attend the hearings, resulting in a string of losses in rulings in the lawsuit. Today's hearing, according to the declaration of Paratini's attorney, will see a substitute attorney fill that attorney's role, as he is involved in a federal trial at the scheduled time and date of the hearing. The declaration indicates that the attorney had not received any discovery from DeCastro since DeCastro was ordered to provide discovery. He has also not received any communication from DeCastro nor payment of the previous monetary sanctions owed to Paratini and his lawyer from previous rulings. The attorney claims that he has no idea where DeCastro is or why he's ignoring the case. While it's widely known that DeCastro has been incarcerated in the Clark County Detention Center for over 2 months, DeCastro himself has not updated the court as to his whereabouts, as he is required to do so. Because of this, the attorney is asking for a new round of sanctions against DeCastro in the form of $4,560 in sanctions, as DeCastro has not attempted to schedule the deposition he was ordered to sit for in previous rulings. The attorney is also asking the judge in the case to order DeCastro to sit for the deposition within the next 30 days. The attorney also asked for the court to set up an order to show cause, since DeCastro has been ignoring the case and has run up the attorney's fees for Paratini because of it. DeCastro filed suit in early 2023, as his previous lawsuit in federal court against Kate Peter and others had morphed from a harassment and defamation-based lawsuit into a copyright lawsuit against Peter and her co-defendants in YouTube Google itself. After revising the lawsuit, he filed the current lawsuit in California's Superior Court to go after Peter and individuals he claimed to be part of the masshole troll mafia, including Paratini, Skeptic, Clement, and a number of John Doe defendants. In the year and a half the lawsuit has been active, DeCastro has failed to state what actions he is holding Paratini responsible for, as Paratini is the only active defendant in the case, and apparently has been unwilling to cooperate with any action that would result in moving the lawsuit forward. A ruling by Judge H.J. Ford III is expected in the case later today. DeCastro may have gotten some good news on Tuesday, as a new listing for DeCastro's upcoming trial in the city of Las Vegas for obstructing an officer seemed to have been moved till August. The YouTuber was originally due in court next week for a pre-trial hearing in the case. The new listing seems to indicate that the hearing has been continued until August 13th at 1:30 p.m. local time. We will continue to monitor DeCastro's court records and update them as we receive new information. DeCastro replies in appeals case. A confident Jose Chille DeCastro released his latest jailhouse statement on Tuesday to coincide with the reply to the responding brief filed by his attorney, Christopher Oram, in his appeal of his conviction on charges for obstructing police and interfering in a traffic stop. In his lengthy audio statement, DeCastro promised that he would be suing Justice of the Peace Ann Zimmerman for allegedly conspiring with her bailiff to trigger him before his case was heard on the day of the trial. Their alleged actions, according to DeCastro, were responsible for his lack of decorum in court and gave Zimmerman the opportunity to punish DeCastro for improper behavior, at times claiming that he was apologetic for insulting the bailiff, as he felt court was not the place for insults. DeCastro almost immediately contradicted himself by saying that he was justified in calling the bailiff a pig because that bailiff acted like one, and DeCastro said he would stand by his comments. DeCastro also promised that he would be suing Zimmerman for allegedly not allowing his friends and family into the courtroom on the day of his motion for reconsideration. Despite a report by Alex Falcone of our Nevada judges that everyone who had shown up on time for DeCastro's hearing was allowed into the courtroom, DeCastro claimed that Zimmerman would not allow his friends and family into the courtroom for the hearing. The jailed YouTuber further claimed that 8 members of his friends and family would be signing on to the pending lawsuit against Justice Justice of the Peace Zimmerman, exclaiming that he had expected a big payout from Clark County, Nevada for Zimmerman's alleged misdeeds. DeCastro was confident that he could sue Zimmerman and that Zimmerman would later face public trial from the press. As far as DeCastro's response to the reply, it was the same rehash of the incomprehensible argument he was making in his 150-page argument that started the appeal. Nothing new was offered, and he stood by his assertion that he did nothing wrong, stood a fair enough distance away from the officer, and could not be a threat, and that Justice of the Peace Zimmerman was conspiring against him as she was a biased actor in the case. In more good news for DeCastro, it was revealed Tuesday that he had another day removed from his sentence, and now he'll be out of jail on July 31st, 2024. There have been no updates about his court hearing that was set for Tuesday in his California-based lawsuit against Kate Peter, Team Skeptic, Daniel Clement, and Michael Blue Bacon Paratini as of press time. DeCastro Great Lakes Audit's warrant dropped. Jose Chille DeCastro got some more good news on Wednesday, as the warrant for his arrest based on charges made against him by YouTuber Great Lakes Audits in Oregon, Ohio, has been withdrawn. The charges stem from a November 2022 incident where Kate Peter and DeCastro were in the side chat of a fundraiser in order to raise bail money for YouTuber Broken System Broken Trust. Peter offered enough money on behalf of the Masshole Troll Mafia to meet the goal for the bail in exchange for a mod timing out DeCastro. Great Lakes Audits complied with the request, triggering DeCastro. DeCastro allegedly confronted Great Lakes Audit via direct message and continued to make threats after Great Lakes Audits asked for no more communication between the two. Great Lakes Audit went to the police and made a police report, resulting in the warrant that was issued but never carried out since 2022. The charges were listed as telecommunications harassment, knowingly make call to harass or abuse, and the bond was set at $2,500. The warrant had been alive but inactive since then, as DeCastro has not returned to Ohio, and Oregon, Ohio police were not going to extradite the YouTuber. In September 2023, Great Lakes Audit made a deal with DeCastro to drop the charges against him in exchange for DeCastro doing a fundraiser for Great Lakes Audit's ongoing legal expenses. The planned fundraiser never materialized, and while Great Lakes Audits claimed that he was going to have the charges against DeCastro lifted, he either never did or he did and the warrant was never lifted. It was officially lifted on June 11, 2024, when it was ordered withdrawn, and the case was dismissed without cost. No reason was given for the dismissal of the case. Special thanks to PDocs of the public documents of Jose Maria Chille DeCastro for providing screenshots and verifying the change. Two days of glorious goose eggs. For the second straight day in a row, the world's greatest auditors failed to bring in a dime from their fans, and their GoFundMe campaigns lay lifeless, casualties of high heat, apathy, and, well, the summertime blues. It's summer now in North America, with the solstice tearing through the country like bad cheese through an old man's intestines. I'm not going to go with this and, technical issues? Too weird for the viewership, and take two. Despite the heat, apathy in America currently rejecting anything to do with auditors, there will always be a need for First Amendment auditors for at least someone for tired folks to point at and laugh at while writing weird columns at 4:30 a.m. The king of all auditors, of course, is Jose Chille DeCastro. He's jailed now. He got in the face of a cop in Las Vegas and didn't understand that in Vegas, anarchy isn't going to win. In the old days, the mob probably would have made him yet another occupant of a hole in the desert, never to be found for hundreds of years, much like every other tourist and yahoo who'd come through making too many loud noises in the pre-Howard Hughes days of the mob in Vegas. Vegas got arguably worse after the mob was bought out by corporations. The sole purpose of the town is to be a destination where nice, hard-working people lose all their money to the casinos. It really is that simple. The corporations want to present a fairly nice place to go to relax, mildly indulge, and whatever happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. And, of course, lose all your money to the casinos. They recently changed roulette to make it harder to win, raised minimums on all table games, and tightened up slot machines to the point where there has been some pushback. Not enough pushback to stop the average American coming to lose all their money while in town, but enough to note and avoid if you're smart with your money. Vegas is all about order. Vegas is about control. Vegas is going to win because they run the system there, and really there isn't a chance for folks like DeCastro to run their mouths and try to change the system. Vegas sees millions of loudmouth tourists a day, and I would guesstimate that 1 in 100,000 pull the same games as DeCastro did, and they try to get a fat payoff from the police by staging an incident to give them standing to sue. And they never win. You don't win in Vegas, no matter how loud you are. You don't go against the system, you don't attack judges or send your people to petition them to force them to do anything. DeCastro is playing a losing hand in Vegas, and with 40 days to go before he's released, he may want to rethink and go for easier targets where the system isn't literally rigged against him and everyone else. As always, if you'd like to keep us reporting news stories every day, we do have a GoFundMe of our own located in the scroll below. All proceeds go to keeping the lights on, eating, and writing news stories to feature here and on ReallyCoolSite.org. Minutes released in Castro hearing. The minutes were released for Tuesday's hearing on motion to compel deposition of plaintiff and request for monetary sanctions in the sum of $4,560 in the Jose Chille DeCastro versus Kate Peters civil case. As expected, the attorney for Michael Bluebake and Paratini did not appear at the hearing, as he had previously notified the court that he was double booked with a trial in federal court that day. His appearance attorney apparently failed to appear in his place. New to the game, however, is attorney Stephen Gablin, who appeared on behalf of DeCastro and told the court that DeCastro was incarcerated in the Clark County Detention Center in Vegas. Gablin failed to file a substitution of attorney form to take the case over from DeCastro, who had previously been representing himself, and Judge H.J. Ford III ordered Gablin to file the paperwork by June 25, 2024. The motion hearing itself was continued to July 30th, 2024, and has been renamed to a hearing on motion for reconsideration. It is unclear whether Gablin is actually taking over the case or if he was a temporary replacement for DeCastro, who is indeed incarcerated for the next 40 days in the Clark County Detention Center. Gablin's website claims that he is an internet lawyer and specializes in internet-based business claims. It's unclear if he's qualified to take over the racketeer-influenced and corrupt organizations lawsuit that DeCastro is essentially running in his civil lawsuit against Kate Peter, team skeptic Daniel Clement, and Michael Bluebake and Paratini. But neither was DeCastro. At this point, Gablin seems to be hired to inform the court that DeCastro was in jail and stop the bleeding. DeCastro has had multiple rounds of sanctions imposed against him and was about to lose another round when Gablin stepped in on Tuesday. DeCastro had previously been told to update his address by the court and needed to take action before facing further sanctions. DeCastro had claimed that with good behavior he'll be out by July 26, 2024. If that data is correct, DeCastro should be available to appear at the next hearing scheduled for July 20th, 2024. Anselmo DeCastro tie for GoFundMe crown. The new additions to our list of GoFundMe campaigns have again brought a victory of sorts to the YouTuber known as Auditing America, with a second straight partial victory in the GoFundMe race for Sunday. Auditing America, more popularly known as Anselmo, saw his campaign to help clear his name of legal charges take in $25 in donations to match the amount brought in by Jose Chille DeCastro's Legal Aid Fund, Donation Fund, Help People Fund, and earn the win for the day. While impressive, the win for Anselmo was overshadowed by the co-win by DeCastro. The win apparently was spurred by the latest in a series of mysterious live streams by attorney Michael Eline on DeCastro's YouTube channel that saw paltry viewing numbers when it was live, but gained over 60,000 viewers in the hours since it ended. This continues a pattern over the past month where Eline's Sunday broadcasts have done incredible numbers in the hours following the broadcasts. Eline's most recent broadcast saw 200 live viewers during spot checks as it was live, which quickly exploded after the end of the stream. The last two Sunday streams by Eline on DeCastro's channel have been in this format. However, critics point out that the weird gains have been observed in videos that do not use the format, resulting in accusations that viewers have been purchased either by DeCastro's team or someone messing with DeCastro. Currently, Eline's video stands at 60,388 views, 380 likes, and 113 comments. This is, again, unusually low for a video with so many likes. The video, while focusing on Caroline and the Fort Worth's encounter with police and not DeCastro, only managed to bring in $25 in new donations to DeCastro's GoFundMe campaigns. Again, unusually low numbers for someone who has had 60,000 views to his channel in the last 14 hours. As always, if you'd like to keep us reporting on news stories every day, we do have a GoFundMe of our own located in the scroll below. All proceeds go to keeping the lights on, eating, to feature here and on ReallyCoolSite.org. For those looking to punish us by donating to a campaign to keep the goose eggs off the board, please consider donating to our own campaign, which is now listed with the rest of the GoFundMe campaigns. Since it is listed with the rest, donations to the campaign will go towards keeping this column going in order to continue my daily torment of being forced to write about these things so early in the morning. Goose eggs again, despite additions. For the first time in the so-called new era, you've proven that you like me. You really like me. Yet, you hate me enough to include me in the goose eggs. You really hate me as well. We had goose eggs again, glorious goose eggs, which would have been great back in the day. I mean, a day without a donation going to an auditor was said to be a good day. But, things changed when I was convinced to put my own GoFundMe into the mix. Okay, my own GoFundMe was really never a focus. Donations to the channel come through nice folks making PayPal donations through either direct donations or using Stream Elements. We only created our GoFundMe as we had yet to establish Stream Elements tipping, and a fan wanted a way to donate without having to go through Cash App or PayPal. But this is a bait and switch, as we're really not going to talk about my campaign being a loser and being depressed over goose eggs again, as that's a trap by a conspiracy that has me making as much sense as Floyd Wallace high on Mountain Dew Baja Blast. Instead, we're going to talk about Michael Eline doing it again. Monday night's live stream on Jose Chille DeCastro's Delete Law's main channel was lightly attended and has done 323 likes to 46 comments in the 8 hours since the stream ended. Yet somehow, it's sitting at 31,905 viewers as of press time. Not as impressive as his Sunday numbers, which somehow reached over 61,000 viewers in the same amount of time, but still, if it's simply due to the vertical format streaming and the artificial gains in the algorithm that YouTube brings to videos in that format, then sign us the hell up. While accusations of buying subs have dogged Eline and DeCastro for a time now, examining Eline's channel seems to back up the theory that Eline is benefiting from the algorithm gains from vertical streaming. Live streams featuring a standard widescreen format on Eline's channel seem to top out at 600 viewers, while those in the vertical format do between 1,500 and 10,000 viewers. Again, the increase in viewership does not increase the average likes or comments, but as it stands, it does seem to reflect a huge advantage vertical formatted streams have on YouTube. They have also not resulted in any new gains to DeCastro's GoFundMe campaigns, as he, like everybody else, saw goose eggs for Monday. As always, if you'd like to keep us reporting news stories every day, we do have that GoFundMe of our own located in the scroll below. If it's at goose eggs for more than 7, or If the campaigns are at goose eggs for more than 7 days, I get to end this column. If one of them, any one of them, including our own, doesn't get a goose egg, then I have to keep writing for another week. Yes, you can punish me if you want to, or you can donate and be nice. But the option, as always, is yours. DeCastro fails in Ironton. Jose Chille DeCastro's appeal of the dismissal of his federal civil rights lawsuit against the city of Ironton, Ohio, retired Ironton Police Chief Pam Wagner, Ironton officials Brad Blojerick, Chance Blankenship, Evan McKnight, and Robert Fouch, the city defendants, and Major Chapman, Jane Doe, and Lawrence County, Ohio, the county defendants, has been denied. DeCastro was suing over an incident in April of 2022 that brought him great fame on YouTube as he live-streamed his refusal to leave the Ironton City Hall after it had closed for the night. The YouTuber arrived about 15 minutes before closing and was accompanied by a small number of supporters. He demanded a room to essentially teach a First Amendment course that night. He was informed that the building was closing and he'd have to wait for his room for another day. An outraged DeCastro refused to leave the building, even after a warning that he would be arrested on trespassing charges. His students all left the building quietly, but DeCastro refused to leave and cooperated with police when they came to arrest him. The original charges DeCastro made against the police included damage to his iPhone while in police custody and violations of his First, Fourth, and 14th Amendment rights. The case lingered since 2022, and at one point DeCastro had made an amended complaint that eliminated the county defendants and failed to state a claim against the city defendants. DeCastro managed to blow through multiple deadlines to state claims against all of the defendants, which resulted in the case being thrown out in December of 2022 until it wasn't, as DeCastro made a reply right after the very last deadline that saw the case revived. It then lingered for most of the last year until it was finally thrown out, and again, DeCastro demanded the right to make a third amended complaint instead of the dismissal based on new evidence. In that new evidence, he claimed that YouTube's atomic clock showed that he really wasn't trespassing, since YouTube's clocks apparently said it wasn't past 5 p.m. DeCastro appealed to the Sixth Circuit Appeals Court, and it has lingered since last fall until now, when the appeals court finally denied the appeal and upheld the decision to dismiss the case. Essentially, DeCastro failed to include the county defendants in his amended complaint, and failed to state a case against the city defendants. He failed to show that his phone was damaged, and failed to show that his rights were violated. The court also found that even if the atomic clock showed the clock displayed on the wall in the city hall was wrong, it was still the time the police believed to be when the building should have been closed. DeCastro was given warnings, and he was able to leave the building at any time before or after the police decided it was closed and before his arrest. DeCastro, perhaps hedging his bets, filed a new version of the lawsuit in federal and state-level courts in Nevada. He claimed jurisdiction in both courts since his customers live in Nevada and are impacted by the events in Ironton. Neither court case has gone anywhere, as DeCastro was incarcerated soon after the filing dates. Also, before he was incarcerated, DeCastro had began putting out a series of videos on one of his alternate channels featuring his highly fictionalized account of the events in Ironton that led to the lawsuit. It is unclear if DeCastro can appeal this verdict. DeCastro reviews own response in appeals case. Jose Chille DeCastro released his daily statement from jail, this time with an extensive review of his response to the state's response to his appellant opening brief. DeCastro fawned over the brief, citing the incredible work of attorney Christopher Oram. The YouTuber claimed the work was entirely Oram's, despite accusations that DeCastro simply provided Oram with a document to turn into the court. Flustered at times due to his incarceration, DeCastro explained that the only reason he did not retain someone like Orem in the first place was that he thought the case was open and shut and that a lesser attorney could handle the case. He claimed he regretted the decision to obtain former attorney Michael Mee to represent him at the trial, and that Mee's incompetence, along with the personal bias of Justice of the Peace Ann Zimmerman, resulted in the guilty verdict. DeCastro promised that he would be filing a civil lawsuit against Justice of the Peace Zimmerman when he gets out of jail in late July. He repeated previous statements that she was biased against him and claimed that her bias was on display as she reviewed his YouTube channel, which was never brought into evidence in the trial. Strangely, DeCastro praised his own handling of the arrest. He claimed that he had no intent on being arrested on the day of the actual arrest, despite later comments on his live streams that he had trapped the officers into the arrest to get standing to sue in the state of Nevada on First Amendment grounds. The YouTuber also claimed that the arrest itself was retaliation for filming, and that Brandon Bork, the police officer involved, and Justice of the Peace Zimmerman invoked a 21-foot rule as law during the trial. This again is contrary to the officer's actual testimony that the 21-foot rule was a guideline that was taught in police training and was never an actual law. Despite being convicted of obstructing an officer and interfering in a crime scene, DeCastro continued to claim that he was arrested for filming a police officer. As both the judge and the prosecutor made it clear that this was not the case, it is nonsensical to some that DeCastro has spent his entire appeal arguing otherwise. Indicating that he believes otherwise, DeCastro has pledged to appeal the case all the way to the United States Supreme Court if needed. DeCastro recently had another day taken off his sentence and is due to be released on July 30th, 2024. He has also been complaining about a chipped tooth. DeCastro warned in Ohio in Nevada case. Jose Chille DeCastro was warned by the clerk of the United States District Court of the District of Nevada on Thursday that he has until July 27, 2024 to serve the defendants in his Nevada-based lawsuit against defendants from Ironton, Ohio. DeCastro filed his lawsuit in March of this year in federal court as a functional duplicate of the court case he had lost in Ohio last year, but was still appealing at the time of the filing. DeCastro's appeal in that case was denied this week, and the lawsuit was finally dismissed. The Ohio case was dismissed with prejudice, meaning that he shouldn't be able to make another case on those charges. However, he appealed, and the appeal lingered long enough to keep the case on life support, long enough to have him file it again in Nevada, claiming he now lived there, so he has standing. Normally, the two cases would be merged. Federal courts don't like it when you bring multiple copies of the same case in two different districts, so the normal process would be to merge the two cases and go forward with the newly merged case. Except he just lost the Ohio appeal, and the Ohio ruling stated that he lost with prejudice, and this is where the brain should start to hurt. DeCastro now has until July 27th to do the basic thing, serve everyone he is accused in the case. Once they are served and accept that they are part of the case, they can apparently file for a dismissal, since they literally just won the previous version of the case with prejudice, so it should never bother them again. But wait, there's more. Not only did DeCastro file a copy of the federal case in Nevada, but he also double-dipped in Nevada, filing essentially the same case in state-level court. That case is also just sitting. DeCastro paid the filing fees, and he generated the summons he was going to serve all the defendants with, but he went to jail before he could serve anyone, and thus it sits. Don't count on the courts to realize he's just double and triple dipping. They've shown time after time that they don't care and won't do anything without a motion from the defense. The smart bet is that DeCastro will get the minor win that the Ironton defendants will have to hire lawyers in Nevada and fight for at least a year to have both cases thrown out, if he ever gets past stage 1 and serves the defendants. DeCastro wins Friday GoFundMe crown. Jose Chille DeCastro took the GoFundMe crown for Friday with a single donation of $100 that came through on his legal aid fund donation fund Help People Fund before another unusual broadcast by Michael Eline on DeCastro's channel. It was the normal story on Friday, the same one that we've seen play out on most Sunday nights. Eline did a forgettable live stream on DeCastro's channel about a subject no one seems to care about, but Eline presented it in YouTube's new vertical format, and his lawyer reaction to cops so bad police refused to disclose his record saw only a couple of hundred people actually attend. It has 254 likes and 24 whole comments in the 11 hours since it ended, to 52,447 views as of press time. Over 2,000 of them were added since we started checking early on Saturday morning. As stated, it seems to be the artificial addition of viewers from YouTube's attempt to promote vertical streaming. Vertical streaming is essentially streaming from a phone where the video is in the same format as YouTube Shorts, which fills the stream on the phone but leaves huge black bars on anything with a wide screen. All of the videos on DeCastro and Eline's individual channels that use the vertical streaming format have extremely inflated viewing numbers compared to the traditionally formatted videos. Since they're essentially shorts viewers being presented the streams, they tend to stay long enough to register a view, but don't stick around long enough to comment or like, and getting them to donate is completely out of the question. The viewing numbers always rise after the broadcast ends and the video hits the vertical algorithm. Of course, non-participating viewers who show up after the broadcast is over in huge numbers with an established cutoff point, usually 12 hours after the end, are also signs that someone has purchased viewers. But we honestly don't have proof of that at this time, as the dramatic shifts only happen on the vertical format live streams and nothing else on Eline or DeCastro's individual channels. Plus, we have our doubts about Eline's competency. While he's a lawyer, he has never shown that he was bright enough or had the funds to purchase viewers. He has, however, shown that when someone points out a trend to him that will bring in monster numbers by just streaming in the vertical format, he'll use that to get those monster numbers. That said, as noted, the viewers they brought in for the format didn't stick around and didn't donate. DeCastro's win for the day came from a $100 donation that was made before the broadcast to a fund that was not promoted on the live stream. It gave the YouTuber a rare win and a much-needed boost to his recent streak of losses for the 3 observed official GoFundMe campaigns he runs. If you'd like to become another of the wonderful readers who like to torture me and keep me writing this wretched column every morning, we do have a GoFundMe of our own located in the stream below. All proceeds go to keeping the lights on, eating, and writing new stories to feature here and on ReallyCoolSite.org. DeCastro finishes second in GoFundMe race. Saturday's GoFundMe race saw a total of $20 donated between Jose Chille DeCastro's legal aid fund, donation fund, Help People Fund, and our own Really Cool Site's ongoing expense fund, with DeCastro's fund taking in $5 for second place. We received our first email generated from the GoFundMe on Saturday as well, which was a surprise since we run a tiny campaign and we weren't aware that GoFundMe allowed people to send direct mails to those who run those campaigns. The words of wisdom came in the following unaltered message from a user named MarkWellby70. Dude, if you need funds, get a job. Chille said that. End of message. Not sure what to make of that one, as on one hand, yeah, we're not making much money, but on the other, that little money we're making beat DeCastro's take from yesterday. Again. Think about it. That means his empire of 581,000 subscribers, up 400,000 subscribers from this time last year, was beaten by our tiny subscriber base of 363 viewers, one of whom donated probably out of spite just to make me keep doing this column every morning. The whole thing is odd,
but not yet on the level of that guy who thinks I'm scamming people by asking for help by going to our Amazon registry and buying wet cat food. I don't even have the registry link in any of our promotional scrolls except for the website, and I thank every one of you who have helped out for that. We're doing okay for this month. On that note, since we've had so many requests, I may stick a Ring doorbell or some sort of external camera on the critter list. If it's portable and someone donates it, I'll either stick it on the front or back porch, depending on which group of animals is around, and broadcast from time to time if you really want to see the scariness that is Hank's raccoon army. Or maybe that fickle yapping cutie pie comes to burn down my house. Finally, after a year of threatening a visit. And we'll get it on camera for the world to see. Please let me know if that's something you'd like to see added. Psst, say something inside chat. And I'll get something on the critter list this week if anyone wants to help. Preferred wireless, rechargeable, and indoor/outdoor. Since I only know how to build computers, I'm not much help wiring anything else. In an entirely non-Daffy Duck meets Elmer Fudd way, thank you. While getting a full-time job remains an option, we're good for another month. We're not splurging on things for ourselves. Gonna be another month or two before my birthday before we get Baldur's Gate 3. But we're making payments and we're supporting our basic needs off of donations towards continuing our work, and for that I'll forever be in your debt. You rock. Thank you. Daffy Duck meets Elmer Fudd will return tomorrow, and the fickle yapping cutie pie will be able to turn 3 minutes of this mush into another 5 hours of entertainment. So we're paying it forward by not throwing in the towel. Woohoo! If you'd like to become one of the wonderful readers who like to torture me and keep me writing this wretched column every morning, we do have a GoFundMe listed in the scroll below. All proceeds go to keeping the lights on, eating, and writing new stories to feature here and on ReallyCoolSite.org. DeCastro shares his take on Carolina and Fort Worth. Late to the party, Jose Chille DeCastro weighed in on the Carolina and Fort Worth controversy on Sunday with a new video in which his editor spliced old footage of his reactions to other subjects with new videos taken from other places to make it seem like it was a new video from DeCastro. While DeCastro can be heard new audio accusing Officer Matthew Kruger of the Fort Worth Police Department of body slamming Carolina and Fort Worth, and calling for his fans to rise up and protest at the police station that Kruger works at and at the Fort Worth Town Hall, his message was several days out of touch when it was released. Both attorney C.J. Grisham and James Freeman Springer have pulled their videos where they accuse the officer of body slamming Carolina. They did so after seeing the video and seeing the use of force was a mix of Carolina pulling away and the officer apparently trying to grab her to bring her back into custody. While we're not condoning what the officer did, there were no blatant strikes or punches, and the various angles of body cam and security cam leave more questions than answers. Carolina is clearly resisting, and the officer is perhaps overusing the force needed to retain someone as small and frail as Carolina as she was trying to pull away from him. DeCastro, of course, is late to the party, as he's currently jailed in the Clark County, Nevada Detention Center. With 9 more days to go until his appeals hearing and the promise by DeCastro that he'll be freed, he is already trying to get back into form, as his glorious return is either 9 or 29 days away, depending on what reality you're living in. The video features James Freeman, who, of course, is a named enemy of DeCastro. DeCastro has promised time after time that he'd sue Freeman out of spite for criticizing him in the past, so the reliance on Freeman's comments on Caroline's predicament only go to serve DeCastro's need to paint himself as a unifier, as his freedom from prison is just days away. DeCastro's video focused on the theme, as his editor spliced in footage from the four-way dance of Carolina and Fort Worth, Leroy the Truth, Christopher Denver Metro Audits Cordova, another known enemy of DeCastro, and an inebriated Christopher Direct D. Ruff, as they shared ideas about uniting the community under a single leader who will step forward and You know where this is going. DeCastro is shaping himself to be the leader of the First Amendment auditors. He had been doing this before he went to jail, and now that he can smell freedom, it's time to prepare ourselves as the smell of freedom is coming, and the new boss is coming out of jail to lead everyone to unity. Or not. But if it gets him through the next 29 days until he's released, it'll be quite the shit show when he does taste that freedom. DeCastro claims freedom is days away. Jose Chille DeCastro released his July 1st, 2024 statement from Nevada's Clark County Detention Center on Monday with a new pledge that he would be released from jail on July 10, 2024, after the successful appeal of his sentence to jail for interfering in a traffic stop and obstructing an officer. DeCastro has been in the detention center since March, after being found guilty of 2 charges from an incident with police in March of 2023. While DeCastro has claimed that he was arrested for filming police, and his appeal hinges on claims of violations of his First Amendment rights, both the Justice of the Peace overseeing the case and the officer who arrested DeCastro made it clear that he had every right to record. Justice of the Peace Ann Zimmerman, who sentenced DeCastro to jail, was the target of his scorn again during the video. He claimed that he was set to find a way around Zimmerman's judicial immunity in order to sue her for her biased handling of his case. On Monday, he announced that he would be suing Zimmerman for allegedly not allowing his family and friends to attend his reconsideration hearing, where Zimmerman affirmed his sentencing. When he previously mentioned this, he claimed that 8 members of the party who were denied entry would sign on to the lawsuit. In Monday's video, it was reduced to 4. DeCastro also announced that he would be suing the prosecutor in the case for malicious prosecution. Switching subjects, DeCastro expressed his longing for freedom and that he was especially hurt that he would be spending the 4th of July holiday watching the fireworks through the bars of a jail cell. He also chastised those who would discount his plight in the detention center in comparison to conditions of prisons in China and North Korea. He said that while he wasn't suffering physical abuse, the mental torture of being in jail was akin to being in a torture chamber. DeCastro also pledged that he would be seeking a national constitutional amendment once he was released to declare that those who were accused of victimless crimes would never serve prison time. "No victim, no crime, no prison time" will be the slogan of the new campaign. DeCastro is due in court on July 10th for his much-awaited appeal. Corrections in earlier form of this article read, "Comparisons to conditions of prisons in China and North Carolina." Despite our thoughts on prisons in the South, it should have read North Korea. Our apologies. DeCastro announces text messaging service idea. Jose Chille DeCastro embraced classic liberalism in his latest message to his followers from the Clark County Detention Center on Tuesday, claiming that while he'd never go for socialism or communism, he would certainly back classic liberalism in his approach to politics when he is released from jail later this month. DeCastro spent most of his address on the idea of a new bill that he claimed he would write and then introduce in committee in both California and Nevada as soon as he got out of jail. The bill would essentially establish a national government-run text messaging service. Powered by AI and featuring a menu system, DeCastro's idea would be for a universal government-run, unblockable text message alert system that would remind people of upcoming court appearances, offer the ability to reschedule missed court appearances, and handle all child support payments. Under his system, those who miss child support payments would be given 24 to 48 hours to scramble like hell to pay the child support dues, or they'd have to report to jail. He justified the system as he met many an innocent man while in jail that were locked up for failing to pay child support, all of which who would have willingly paid the fees if they were only given more time. His system would also end immediate jailing for convictions of all crimes.
Prisoners would be released from custody after sentencing and given 24 to 72 hours to voluntarily report to jail or prison after sentencing to get their affairs in order. DeCastro claimed that 3 of his employees lost their jobs simply because the unprincipled and corrupt justice of the peace, Ann Zimmerman, took him into custody and sent him immediately to jail following his conviction for obstructing an officer and interfering in a traffic stop. Under DeCastro's new system, he would have been released and given 24 to 72 hours to get his affairs in order and to protect the jobs of his employees. Despite his history of fleeing charges that he felt were unfair or designated to take him out while serving time, he would have voluntarily reported to jail once his affairs were in order or rescheduled the proper time to report to jail should he miss his window. Likewise, if someone had an outstanding warrant and were apprehended by police for the warrant, they would be given the ability to leave the arrest and either pay their fine or report to jail or prison within 24 to 72 hours. There would be no need to impound their cars or send police to take them to jail, as everyone would simply comply with the voluntary system. DeCastro embraced the ideas of Presidents William Taft and Teddy Roosevelt, who he claims believed in government working for the people. He also asserted that Teddy Roosevelt came up with the idea of Social Security 40 years before it was passed by Congress in order to help all Americans. He then hailed Roosevelt and Taft as his heroes and apologized for his previous disparagement of both men. DeCastro also rallied against the evils of GeoCorp and CoreCivic, multi-billion-dollar companies that control our prison systems. He asserted that his bill would take power out of their hands and bring it back to the people, should it be passed. The jailed YouTuber's appeal is set to be heard on July 10th, 2024.
And there you have it, folks. The end to our first 2024 special about Chille DeCastro. Our next one will probably happen Labor Day-ish. I think that's the next big holiday. That's September. That should give us more than enough time to get another 2.5 to 3 hours of content for a special to fill the day. Other than that, I hope everyone has had a happy and safe 4th of July. I'm gonna hit the hay in a few minutes. Newspaper will be coming out tomorrow at some time, and then we'll have a double episode tomorrow night for the news to catch up on everything that happened yesterday, today, and maybe even tomorrow. Take care, everybody, and we're out of here for tonight. Talk to you soon.